Wow, folks. Another unsuspecting twist on the offseason for Sonny Mehta and the New Jersey Devils. Everybody settle in, settle down. I'm going to get to the comments. I'm sure the chat's going to be very active, but this is a big one. This is a big move by Sonny Mehta. And we start off, bear with me, I rushed to get on here. The state of New Jersey, for those that don't live in the area, absolute gridlock traffic all the time. I was at development camp for the first day of development camp. I'm going to have a bunch of stuff on that, but this takes priority at the moment. But keep your eyes peeled for development camp stuff. That'll be coming later today. But as I am wrapping up at development camp, getting ready to drive home in this beautiful Garden State, our boy Elliot Friedman tweets this out, sending the internets into hysteria. Florida and New Jersey working on a deal involving Jacob Markstrom and Evan Rodriguez. We will see how it all plays out. And all of a sudden, the internet is in complete meltdown. Bear with me 1 second. I just got to do one more thing. One second. Elliot tweets this out. Everybody goes crazy. And I mean, we knew from the reports for a few weeks now that Sonny was looking to potentially move off of Jacob Markstrom if he could find a home. And he did. And then took about a little over an hour and a half. I'm fuzzy on the timeline. Like I said, I was coming back from development camp. Keep your eyes peeled for that. But we get the official announcement from the Devils. Devils acquire Rodriguez, Boquist, and Steves from Florida. Devils send Jacob Markstrom and Angus Crookshank to Panthers in return. The New Jersey Devils announced that the team has acquired forwards Evan Rodriguez, Jesper Boquist, and Ben Steves from Florida in exchange for goaltender Jacob Markstrom and forward Angus Crookshank. The announcement was made by general manager Sonny Mehta. Rodriguez, 32, recorded 31 points, 11 goals, 20 assists in 69 games at Florida last season. He played the last 3 years in Florida and was a member of the 2024 and 2025 Stanley Cup championship teams. Rodriguez has 1 year left on a 4-year contract with a cap hit of $3,075,000. Blah, 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 blah. It goes on to talk about him some more. I'll spare you all those details. On to Boquist, a familiar face, former New Jersey Devil coming home. Interestingly enough, Markey goes back to Florida. Boquist comes back to New Jersey. Boquist, 27, played the last 2 seasons in Florida and was a member of the Panthers 2025 Stanley Cup championship team. He's played 387 regular season NHL games over 7 seasons, scoring 105 points with 60 penalty minutes. Blah, 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 blah. I won't bore you guys to death with all the details. But we take a look at the aforementioned Boquist contract. 1 year left at $1.5 million. Okay. Let me look at the Boquist stats. Last season, 73 games played, 4 goals, 9 assists, 13 points, kind of buried on a deep Florida team. But solid bottom sixer. When he was with the Devils, I thought, he could have been potentially a middle 6 guy once upon a time. But he's proven to be a decent bottom 6 player, and I think he is going to be a good addition for the New Jersey Devils. That's Jesper Boquist we're talking here. And then we get to Evan Rodriguez, the other piece coming back. He has 1 year left at $3,075,000. And last year with the Panthers in 69 games, 11 goals, 20 assists, 31 points for Evan Rodriguez. Okay. So when you look at this, when you look at all of this, and for all the people that were jumping down Sonny's throat, this is Fitz 2.0 and all the people crying. And again, this is not a, blockbuster deal in the sense of they're getting this huge top 6 flashy superstar. I understand all of that. But take a step back, take a deep breath. Free agency still has not opened. And what Sonny Mehta did today was borderline miraculous, I would say. In one deal, in this one single deal, he got rid of the Jacob Markstrom contract, which is arguably Tom Fitzgerald's biggest blunder in a long line of them. And let's be frank, there was a long line of them. If you go back several seasons, a long line of blunders and miscalculations. Sonny bails the Devils out of perhaps the biggest one of the Tom Fitzgerald administration. And whilst doing so, upgrades the bottom six with Jesper Boquist and Evan Rodriguez. And as a kicker, saves roughly $1.4 million in cap space in the process. Sonny heard everybody talking smack, and he said, hold on, hold my beer. Gets out of the Markstrom contract, upgrades the bottom six, and finds an additional roughly $1.4 million in cap space. What a cunning move. What a cunning move. And interestingly enough now, the Panthers are obviously going for it, locked and loaded. Their goaltending tandem is looking like it's going to be Jacob Markstrom and Akira Schmid, two former New Jersey Devils in the pipes, in between the pipes for the Florida Panthers for their first season with the Tkachuk brothers. And I do think they're going to be good, guys. Let's be honest. I think the Florida Panthers are going to be back with a vengeance. You know, Barkov healthy and Tkachuk, but either way, for everybody, again, that was impatient, and I know this is still not the big addition you wanted, and quite frankly, that big time addition that so many people are coveting may never come. But this is a remarkable piece of business right here to get out of the Jacob Markstrom contract, upgrade the bottom six, and get additional cap space in the process. This is nothing short of an A+ move, in my opinion. Just kind of, this is all just still so fresh, obviously. Wish Jacob Markstrom well. As an individual, I thought he was a good guy. He seemed like a very good guy. I talked to him on a couple occasions. Fiery competitor. You'd love to see it, especially from your goaltender. He wanted to win. He wants the net. And the Jacob Markstrom experiment, unfortunately, overall did not work out in New Jersey. It just didn't play out the way Tom Fitzgerald and the organization hoped. He did have a pretty solid, I would say, playoff performance against the Hurricanes, and you know we were outmatched. But what a move by Sonny Mehta, right? I'm going to get to the comments in a minute, but upgrades the bottom six, finds cap space, gets rid of the Markstrom contract in one foul swoop, and everybody just needs to sit back and hopefully calm down a bit. Many of you have been testy. You've been talking incessant smack, and I think with this deal, you guys should realize this guy's not playing around, and he is going to methodically improve this team one way or another. And this deal, I'm giving it a solid A+, a solid A+. Now, the biggest question mark coming out of this for me personally, well, there's many of them, right? But the biggest one would be, okay, now, is Sonny going to go out and get another goaltender, or is he in fact going to roll the dice on the Nico Daws, Jake Allen tandem? And I know a lot of you had said you wanted to see that. A lot of you had said you did not want to see it. I do think it is a very calculated gamble. It could work out, and it could also crash miserably. I don't really know what to think at the moment, other than, you know, it's a tough call. It's a tough call. Do you go into the season with Dawes and Allen and hope for the best, or do you go out and try to, you know, get another goalie, whether it's more of a middle-of-the-road veteran as a safety net, or do you go for the big splash with Connor Hellebuck? I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be certainly interesting. Supposedly, Winnipeg wants an absolute haul for him, and Hellebuck agreed to go to the Sabres, but the Sabres didn't pony up enough. So that hasn't happened as of yet. But Hellebuck certainly still in play for some teams. Could the Devils get in on that? Or are they going to roll the dice with Dawes and Allen? Certainly would be a cheap goaltending tandem overall. Dawes got his qualifying offer, and Allen on that $1.8 million deal. All right, I'm going to get to the comments, but I'm just kind of thinking out loud here. But what a day. Like I said, I do believe Sonny Mehta has a vision. He has a plan. And while it may not directly align with the hopes and desires of some of the fans, he's going to get this team back on track at some point. How quickly it happens, we don't know. But this is a massive step in the right direction, in my opinion. Checking multiple boxes in one deal, and wow, the chat is exploding. Shout out to all you guys for jumping on here. We just Tasha said, "Let's be so for real. Would we rather Rodriguez or Paul Cotter?" Easily Rodriguez, and I think this definitely solidifies, in my opinion, that Cotter is gone. I think most people thought that when they did not give him a qualifying offer. There was still scenarios where he could have been brought back. But I do think with both Boquist and Rodriguez coming in, I think it's fair to say that Sonny Mehta has a new vision for the bottom six and is going to tweak it accordingly. All right, we're going to scroll around here. Steve Robinson, Sonny has already cleared up the remnants of the plot trade and also completely cleaned up the Markstrom mess that Booze Face left. Yep. Referring to Siplikov going to Calgary in the Shimo Nemitz deal. I don't even know if Fitz really thought Siplikov was going to pan out, but I think that was probably his easiest way to get rid of Palat at the time. But yeah, he certainly did clean up the remnants of that too. Siplikov out. Doug, Rodriguez is a righty shot, which you desperately need, and he can play on power play too. Yeah, Devils obviously stocked with left-handed shooters and can definitely use some righties. Dire Wolf, I think Markey will bounce back, but this was undeniably a great trade. To get back two useful bottom six players is awesome. Yeah, the crazy thing is, listen, I know a lot of people are down on Markey. I do think he was playing injured basically probably the majority of last season. Going to a good team like Florida, you may see Markstrom play well. I do think he's going to play better than last year, that's for sure, which, the bar is pretty low if you look at the stats. But I do think he could have a little bit of a late career resurgence for a season or two in Florida playing behind that team. But rough year last year, and Sonny Mehta decides to move on, and we shall see what becomes of the goaltending for the 26-27 season. Titus Dream, the cost associated with this still makes me annoyed as far as what we paid for Markey versus the return, but he was a depreciated asset, and for $6 million, that's a good flip. All said, we only get 1.4 in cap. Yeah, but there was tons of people. Again, you have to realize the contract was bad, and to defend Tom Fitzgerald for a second, I don't believe that he thought that it was a great idea to give him that contract when it was announced. I do genuinely believe that was something that was discussed / promised well before then, but the timing of it certainly couldn't have been worse. But yeah, there was many people that thought no one would take Markstrom. I always thought that someone would take a gamble on him for sure. And a lot of people were talking about, even if you do find a home, you're going to have to retain on him. But to be able to move off of the contract, get two bottom six pieces, and free up some cap space, it's a home run to me. Oh, man, if Mr. White's saying it's good, great first move from Sonny. Maybe Mr. White will give him a little more patience. Mr. White has been notoriously impatient, and I certainly understand. As a longtime fan, he is tired of watching the same movie over and over again, and he thought that that's what was happening with Sonny Mehta thus far by way of, trading Nemo for picks and then drafting with the number 12. But if Mr. White's giving the thumbs up on this, wow, I'd imagine almost everyone would be. Doug says Fitz was never capable of a trade like this. Well, he's the one that gave Markey the deal. But it is interesting, right, that obviously Sonny Mehta doing business with his former boss, Bill Zito, probably made the whole thing much smoother than it may have been in another scenario. But obviously there's a high level of familiarity there. And Sonny found a way to get it done with Bill Zito. Bobby, this trade is absolutely massive by Sonny. Markey, I liked as a person, was not worth the $12 million he was going to accrue. Rodriguez is an excellent bottom six guy, and I've always been a fan of Boquist. Doug says Fitz would have kept Markey. It's certainly possible. Mr. White, do we now trade Mercer, Boquist, and picks 2027 first to Vegas for Connor Hellebuck? That would leave us with $10 million to re-sign Gritsuk and cap flexibility to make another move up front. Mr. White, Based on what I had read about the Buffalo kind of negotiations for Hellebuck, I don't know that would get it done. I don't know if that would be enough. But in some hypothetical world where it was, that would certainly be a statement. Doug, I mean, there's still a full summer left, and Sonny has shown he's capable of big moves already. Westbound on Olympic says Markey has been inconsistent his entire career. He was not good here, and he got salty with the media when they questioned his poor play. See it. I mean, the only thing I'll say about that is, he knew he was struggling. He was getting needled. I get it. It was just an unfortunate situation. Like, what do you want the guy to say? He's very hard on himself. He wants to win. He's an ultimate competitor. Doug says it's a pipe dream, but Hellebuck in the red and black would be legendary. I'm very interested where people's heads are at now on the whole Hellebuck thing. The Lou Lamoriello philosophy was you build a team from the net out, and obviously the Devils had prosperous years with the great Martin Brodeur in net, and then obviously they always had a very good team in front of him, including two all-time great defensemen in Scott Stevens and Scott Niedermayer, and then the forward group was always a nice mix of young kids, veterans, guys that had won cups, skill guys, grit guys. It was always a great blend in the Lou years, but building a team from the net out certainly has been somewhat de-emphasized in recent years. You've seen kind of middle-of-the-road, mediocre-ish goalies win cups, and it seems like a lot of the GMs and executives around the league don't prioritize the position as much as it may have been in the past. But Hellebuck would certainly be quite a statement. Doug says, but then again, running Allen Dawes could be a sneaky good tandem. I mean, look at the Habs and Dobbs. The kid really took off this year and led them to the conference Dobish. I'm half asleep over here. The kid really took off this year and led them to the conference finals. Yeah, Dobish had a big year. I thought there was a chance he was going to bring him to the cup. Average Joe says, Sonny, now you can't leave Mehta. Nice little Bronx Tale reference for those that haven't seen it. Arguably it's definitely in the conversation, but I think it may be my favorite movie of all time, A Bronx Tale. Classic. Six Pack Pop says, thoughts on Nico's 12 AAV. I saw that report yesterday. I mean, until it gets, I do believe it's going to be announced tomorrow, but until it's announced, it's all speculation. I did, from the beginning, think it was going to fall somewhere between 11 and 12. Obviously, 12 on the higher end of that. I mean, it's a little high, but what are you going to do? These guys want to get paid. It's not leaving very much meat on the bone, though. I may say it's not leaving any meat on the bone. Stiz says, I can't believe we offloaded his contract. I love Markey, but this is a great trade. I'd take Erod and Boquist back. JJ Dog says, Merzlikins and Marchenko. I can't see it, man. That would be... That's the other guy that everyone's talking about. I don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, Columbus had said they don't want to trade him. We obviously know how that all goes. It could just be GM speak and, smoke screens and misdirection. But if he is potentially available, Sonny should definitely be looking to make that happen. But that will not be cheap. Like I've said for a while now, if you're going to try to go out and make a splash like that, or a Hellebuck or whatever it may be, you really only have enough bullets to really pull off one of those. And there's obviously the whole cap implications as well and what else you have to do to move money out to be able to accommodate that. But Marchenko would certainly be another massive, massive acquisition. Philip says the future is bright. At least Sonny knows what depth scoring is. Get your shades on, kids. Protect your retinas. The bright future is underway. How far into the future? It may only be a couple months from now. Or a few months from now, whatever you want to call it. For the start of the 26-27 NHL season, Mr. Sawyer 186 says, good deal. Let's go all in on Hellebuck. Interesting. It seems like this has kind of rejuvenated some of you. But listen, guys, I would be remiss if I didn't say it. And hopefully some of you are adult enough to fulfill what I'm about to ask. If you were one of the people endlessly criticizing Sonny Mehta after being on the job for 10 minutes, if you were one of those people who talked complete nonsense and gibberish, and this is Fitz all over again, and blah, blah, blah. If you were one of those people, I'm giving you one opportunity to come clean right now. Your first and only opportunity, and you know how you come clean, guys. If you are a Sunny Mehta smack talker, deposit your apologies in the chat. Deposit your apologies in the chat. This is your only chance. I know some of you are going to say, oh, it's a good first step, but it's not enough. No, 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 no. You deposit the apologies now. Wadada says we got to be in on Helly. No. I don't think it's a must. I do think there is a very good chance that the Devils could have convinced themselves that Dawes is ready. I mean, listen, if they did that, if they went into the season with Dawes and Allen and it worked out and Dawes looked very good, that would be a phenomenal gamble with tremendous upside because Dawes is not going to get paid a lot. And with Allen, you would have a very affordable and solid goaltending tandem, assuming that Dawes was ready and did play well. All right, I got to scroll ahead here, guys. You're very chatty. Doug says 100% we're sending offers for Hellebuck. Devils Army for life. Sonny's done more to address the bottom six in 5 minutes in charge than Fitz did in the last 4 years. Man, the Fitz slander is strong. Sonny is doing more moves than Tommy Boy ever did. We got Joe Cade Sonny completely transforming the bottom six, and there still might be more to come. Steven Engel, bottom six pieces, big trade coming tomorrow. Could it be setting the table for something big looming? Whether that's a free agent, well, none of the free agent signings would be huge, but I do believe there are some guys that will be available in free agency that would boost the club. And I did put out that video yesterday afternoon, so if you haven't seen that, check that out. That's on the channel now. But a lot of those names are going to be comparatively underwhelming if you are one of these people that are like, Robertson, Marchenko, that you only want the big flashy name. But I do think this now gives Sonny even further flexibility. How is he going to continue to improve this team? Does he have guys on his radar in free agency? Is he working on a trade? I don't know, but it's certainly interesting. Tasha says it's crazy how much shit Sonny has to clean up before he's able to cook and add things. Yeah, I mean, listen, it was a mess. It's a mess. Mr. White is hating on all the free agents. Come on, Mr. White. There's at least a couple that could be a boost. You just want to see the splashy. Six Pack Pop says we want guys who come from a winning culture. Well done. Yeah, and then obviously Sonny is familiar with these guys as well. Rodriguez won both of the cups, and Boquist was there for one of them. 858 Dave 2. Personally, I saw the three biggest needs as the bottom six, top six winger, free up some cap space. 2 out of 3 so far, in my opinion. No, I agree with those. I would have probably put, I guess the top six winger just has been so glaring for so long that would have been my number one. But it's the same. It's kind of the same story every season. But it looks like with a new sheriff in town, Devils are stepping in the right direction. Megan says, need Helly. That's another person looking for Helly. Justin Smith, right now it's Allen and Dawes, but I think that will change. Who do you think they're going to get? Who is your prediction? Let me see if any of these apologies came in the chat. Doug says, good luck to Markey. Devils are Beastly says, where do you think Bob ends up? Carolina, Vegas, Edmonton, or somewhere else? That's a tough one because I think he is still looking for a good amount of money and term. So that's going to be a big gamble for whoever takes him as well. I'd have to believe the Panthers offered him something somewhat fair for him to return, and he didn't want it. So, he's got his cups. He's looking for his last payday. Someone's going to have to gamble on him too. Evan says we have so many goalies in the pipeline. I mean, I wouldn't say so many, but there's a good amount on paper. I just got another look at the 6'8" Tristan Bennett today. He looked pretty sharp actually in camp. Trenton Bennett. What did I say? Tristan. Trenton Bennett, 6'8". I saw him at camp last year. Young kid. He looked pretty sharp, but goalies are kind of, wild cards. But right now, you would have the pecking order as, Dawes Allen and Jacob Malik. who is nice to have in the mix as well. Played for Utica last season. Definitely a promising young goaltender, and would be third on the depth chart as of right now in the event of an injury, assuming that it is, in fact, a Dawes-Allen tandem. Vic says Markey is going to have his best record ever in Florida, right? I mean, that would probably track. But again, even if he does play, he could have a very good season. That's what happens when guys go to good teams. Even, again, to defend Fitz, and this might be a record how many times I defend him slightly in one live, but people were like, oh, Blackwood and Wedgwood and blah, blah, blah. But, they played well on a stacked Avalanche team. You're not comparing apples to apples. Those guys were never going to look as good as they did on the Avalanche with the Devils. They just weren't. Tasha says, I see an Aiden Hill trade in our future. I don't know how I feel about that. Vic says, Dawes deserves a chance. He's been really good. Devils Army for Life says, I like Dawes, but we can't take that risk. Hope isn't a strategy. Stolar's the Devils, book it. The Jersey boy coming home. It's interesting. He was on my potential free agent list. Was that a couple years ago when he was a free agent? I'm sure he would love to play for his home state team. Fluffy says the bottom six is so much better now. Dirty 1313 Bird, do you have any guesses or predictions of how the Devils season is going to go this year? Well, I've said from a few months back, even with only minor changes, assuming Jack Hughes is relatively healthy, I think they're a playoff team. But I'll have a bunch of predictions and all that sort of stuff closer to the season. I have to see how this roster shakes out before. Thanks, Ernad. Hit the thumbs up. Smash the like. Thank you, folks. Hit the like. Rendich says, Nason and maybe Dylan gone after tomorrow, changing trade protections post July 1st to 7-10 team no trade list, respectively. Yeah, I mean, the Declan Chisholm acquisition from the Capitals, I really did think was a precursor of something to come on the left side of the D. I don't think they would make that move, or Sonny would make that move if he thought he was a seventh defenseman. I just don't think so. It could be. And as you all know, with injuries and everything else, it's always nice to have a couple extra defensemen in the wings in case things happen. But I do think that Sonny thinks there's at least a chance of him being on the opening night lineup. MK chomped this with the Let's Go Devils. NPC says he had the sickest artwork on his masks of any Devils goalie. He certainly had some nice ones. All right, I got to skip ahead here, folks. We got a lot of... Dirty 1313 Bird says, do you think Sonny will be better than Fitz? Dirty 1313 Bird, I know you're young, but is that a real question? Is that a real question? Justin says, in Sonny we trust. Justin also says Winnipeg turned down the Sabres offer for Helly. Yeah, I don't think they're going to give him up easily. Rich Not Famous says 2027 Stanley Cup Finals could legit be for former Devils goalies. Colorado, Blackwood, and Wedgwood versus Florida, Markstrom and Schmidt. Wouldn't that be something? But a smooth, Ace, can you pull strings with the new gig to get a Markey interview before he leaves? I'm going to say probably not. Obviously, I would love that, but I don't know how likely that would be. I would say it's highly unlikely. JJ Dog says, no, Helly, $8.5 million is too much cap tied up in the net. And there's a lot of people in that camp. But to have a true elite goaltender in net is a very, very nice luxury to have. And so it's not an easy answer. It is not an easy answer. Ghost Mob Gaming says we got dogs from the Markey trade. Let's go. Ethan, does this mean my boy Dawes gets a chance? It could be. It certainly could be. And then Evan's dreaming and says, let's get Quinn Hughes and Dylan Larkin. Well, why don't we just throw Hellebuck and Robertson on that list too? SST, am I dreaming? Finally, my prayers after 2 years have been heard. Luke and Meyer next, please. Well, I could tell you with certainty, SST, Luke never happening, and I would say Timo is highly unlikely, but not impossible. Rendich says, Weeks hinting Helly is on the move, maybe doing his eyes emoji tweet. Oh, the classic Weeksy? The classic Weeksy with the eyes? Where's Hellebuck going? Destination says, don't just pop in and chat. Hit the thumbs up. Thank you, folks. Hit the thumbs up. Wow. Robert said, Panthers got Akira. I wanted him. Akira Schmidt is another guy that I thought kind of got a raw deal here. And I did believe for a time period that he could have been the next like franchise goalie. Showed promise, won that huge playoff series against the Rangers after Vanacek put the Devils in a hole. You can't talk enough about Akira Schmidt. You guys know he will forever be a franchise legend to me. To go into Madison Square Garden, Devils down 2-0 with Ranger fans talking about sweep and bringing brooms and being overly obnoxious, to then go in there and win both of those games at the Garden and then ultimately have a Game 7 shutout at the Rock and giving us some of the greatest video clips of Ranger fans, exiting the arena and all the stuff afterwards. I mean, for those that know, on my former channel, there's a bunch of that stuff, historical archives from the Game 7. But Akira Schmidt, good luck to him. It's been a rocky road for him for sure. Tasha said, deposit the apologies. KCAC, our bottom six in 22-23 was great. BMW. Yeah, they were. That was a great. BMW was a great line. Obviously, the whole McLeod thing happened. And then, we've been looking for bottom six answers annually ever since. Every summer, it's on the Fitz agenda is the bottom six kind of reclamation reconstruction project. Ethan, I'm sorry for underestimating Sonny's ability to be a GM. I'll give him a chance because he's the future of the Devils. Brendan Plays says, I wasn't on the Fire Sonny, train, but I was melting down after the door if I have trade and not trading the pick. Rip Rogers, Smokey Johnson. If you are trashing Sonny before he's even had a chance to do the job, you really need to seek help. Give the man a chance. Bobby, I am perfectly happy running a tandem of Dawes Allen. With this extra cap Sonny acquired, I can only imagine he's going to be swinging for legitimate top six to pair with Jack. Robo, Marchenko, Pasta. He's going to have to free up more money elsewhere to do that, though. There would have to be some kind of corresponding deals to find that money, and especially with the Robertson demands believed to be in that $14, $15 million range. That would not be easy to accommodate. Now, Marchenko, on the other hand, is way more realistic in that perspective because he has 1 year left on his deal at $3.85 million. So that is a guy where obviously it's going to cost a ton of assets. But if you could get him here, you don't have to worry about cap space, obviously, until next year when he's going to get ridiculously paid. But for this season, 3.85. That should be a very attractive target for Sonny Mehta should Columbus trade him. They're claiming they're not, but Rip Rogers, Smokey Johnson. Dawes has shown a lot of promise in his stints with us. Would it be a gamble to roll with him and Allen? Absolutely. Could it pay off? Yes, it could. Could also blow up in our face. Yeah, that's a pretty high risk, high reward gamble. Dawes has looked good in small sample sizes. Had a solid game against the Minnesota Wild early on last season in October amidst that 8-game heater. As of right now, I would say one of the more memorable, and obviously because of the stage and, the grandiose nature of the event, Dawes had a hell of a game at MetLife Stadium in the Stadium Series against the Flyers. Jared Babineau, I like the idea of Brad having command over for dinner and taking him under his wing. Well, it's gonna be quite a bit before that, though. He's not going to be on the Devils anytime soon. K-Cax says Allen is more than capable to be a solid 1A. I think they really want to keep Allen at like 35 or so games max. Someone else talking Stolars. Mr. White is not apologizing. He said he's made one move that was great for our books and bottom six, but we're still without a number one goalie. I said I left Sonny until puck drop. Mr. White he's waiting. He's waiting to see what else happens. Evan, Sonny is trying to transform this team into a contender by setting up more cap space, flexibility, and moves. Carson, a Canes fan who comes in peace most of the time, says, bro, why is your GM smart? I hate your GM. Listen, man, you guys just won the cup. Like, what are you going to do? Pack and all brunch says the real test now for Sonny. Will he look at the standings during the season? That's obviously referring to the Tom Fitzgerald quote about how he didn't look at the standings, which I thought was kind of wild. Curtis says Dreger just reported to date NJD haven't been in the mix for Helly, but things can change with a call. But as of now, there's no link to Helly to New Jersey. I just don't see that. That doesn't seem like something Sonny would do, in my opinion. I think he would probably be in that camp of find adequate goaltenders who could play that don't cost a ton and use that cap space elsewhere. That's just my gut feeling on how Sonny would look at the goaltending position. Titus Dream, Dougie is next. That contract becomes very tradable after his paid bonus. That would be interesting. We went into this offseason figuring that it was an impossibility for both Shimo Nemitz and Dougie Hamilton to be on this team for the 26-27 season. And we talked about there was a possibility of them both potentially being gone. At this very moment, I still think Dougie returns unless Sonny's hand is forced and has to move him to free up cap space for something much bigger. How did you feel about the 8-game heater? I thought it was just, I thought it was all the things that everyone was waiting to see from the Devils for the previous couple of years. I thought it was all coming together, and I thought they were going to be lethal. Oh my goodness, 13-19. Just plug Anthony Mehta into the top six. We're looking pretty good now. There's a couple other guys. Well, I would say Mehta and maybe one other that would fit the bill for that. And again, check out the video if you haven't seen it. I don't want to spend too much time on it right now, but I did put out a video last night about 5 intriguing free agents the Devils could look to target. But there's many more than what on my list. Like I said, there's a lot of guys that would improve the team. It's just not going to be the improvement that you would get with a Robertson or one of these big name Marchenko, these big name players that everyone keeps talking about. I think you might have to just accept the fact that Sonny is going to improve the team in other ways outside of the big splash. But certainly this deal today just goes to show that he's crafty and he will make moves. Poole says, I don't get it. I don't trust Allen or Dawes. Need a younger goalie. And Sonny very well may be bringing in another goalie. He's going to get something right near $12 million. If you believe that the team is better off without Nico, I don't know what to tell you. Is it a little bit higher than most people would probably want? Yeah. But what option do you have? Yeah, everyone's just talking about Weeksy. Let's see. Let me see what the Weeksy's talking. I'm curious how Panthers fans, and obviously I'll be looking into it later, how Panthers fans feel about their goaltending situation given the moves they had made last night and today. It's crazy how many people are talking about the Devils in the comments of that Kevin Weeks tweet. SST, there's no way they're getting how would they even remotely have the assets or cap space to get both Larkin and Marchenko? It's just that's pipe dream stuff. Doug, it was crazy how people were drawing conclusions on Sonny before July 1st. Let's see how he does on his first day of free agency as a GM. Then we could really make some remarks. Like I said, from when the people first came out with their pitchforks, I said, give him the offseason. You have no idea. He's not going to. I couldn't see any world where he just sat back and was like, all right, yeah, this team's good, and then did nothing. Like, that's clearly not what's going to happen, but people just want instant gratification. Supernova says, if you're Sonny, I don't think you move Markey without a plan and goal. I agree with that, but his plan very well could be Dawes Allen. We don't know yet. We will find out eventually. Megan says, what are people saying about Dylan? I'm confused. Or are they signing Nico? Oh, because the Devils made a trade for another left defenseman who makes $1.6 million, Declan Chisholm, and people started to speculate that that could have been the setup for Sonny to trade one of the current left D guys, whether that was Siegs, Jonas Siegenthaler, or Brendan Dillon as a potential cap savings move. So that's kind of where the I guess in the chat people were talking about Dillon, and no one knows for sure, but it seems all but a foregone conclusion at this point that Nico Hischier will be extending with the Devils, and I do expect that deal to get announced tomorrow. Zinka says, I'm not sure what to think about this one. Sonny just came from Florida. I presume understands their evaluation process. What is Florida seeing in Markstrom that's different from Sonny? I mean, it's just they're going to roll the dice. I don't know Florida's whole cap situation, but they needed a goalie. Maybe they think Markey could. Jacob Markstrom is going to find at least a temporary fountain of youth, but they're fully aware that it's a gamble. Chico Resch says, which defender do you see on the move next? I think it would be Siegenthaler or Dillon based on the Chisholm acquisition, like I said a couple seconds ago. I think that would be the most likely thing. Chico says, why is Mr. White in here? He hates the Devils but claims he's a fan. I don't think he hates the Devils, and he's definitely a fan. He's just a very passionate, angered fan who has been beaten down by years of losing. That's just what it comes down to. But he's definitely a fan. Robert Palzer says, what's up, Devils family? Hit that like and soak in the rays of brighter days ahead. Keep doing a great job, Andy. Thanks, Rob. Old man Rob. Robert says, and those were tight, stressful games at the Garden, referring to the games 3 and 4 of that first round playoff matchup with the Rangers in 22-23. Chris Ladd says, thoughts on Tarasenko or Mehta in free agency? So, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it yet, and I guess I'm going to have to put the link. I did put out a video last night of 5 guys that I thought could be intriguing potential targets for the Devils in free agency. And both of those gentlemen were on the list. Link in the chat. I just dropped the link in the chat. Oh, let me also do this. Bear with me 1 second. Man, I didn't really see enough apologies in the comments though. A lot of people are going to be delinquent in depositing their apologies. Dun dun dun. I'm just trying to pull something up here. Yeah, follow me on X, follow me on Instagram. I just threw that in the chat. I always forget about that. Do you think Tarasenko is a possibility? A lot of these guys are a possibility. It just depends on whether or not Sonny Mehta thinks they're a good fit. Depends on whether he thinks they're a good fit. But I think there's a lot there. He's one of the guys in free agency that, again, it's going to be underwhelming to many because it's not the huge flashy name, but I don't see any world where you could convince yourself that the Devils wouldn't be better with Tarasenko as it stands right now. I don't see how you could think that. There's no update on Nico. I think they're going to announce the deal tomorrow. Tasha says the Van Hanen kid seems like a really good pick. Any notes on him, Ace? Dude, the notes are he was the best player on the ice today. Like I said, this kind of cut the line in terms of the things I have to get done today. But I will be putting out an article on nj.com. Go subscribe for nj.com if you're not already. An article probably tomorrow about development camp overall, but he looked legit. You're going to see some of him in my, I don't know if I'm going to call it, I don't know what I'm going to call it, but I got some footage from development camp, so that'll go up later this afternoon or early tonight. And there's probably going to be another live tonight, guys. There's probably going to be a night before free agency live. And probably. I got to figure this all out. But I'm going to be on here for a little bit with you fine folks. Then I got to get the videos edited from development camp, throw that up, and then we'll probably do a night before free agency live. But he looked really good. He was scoring goals in different ways. He has a good stick. He stood out to me for sure. And the development camp format this year was much different than in previous years. Way less players. So there was just a bunch of drills and different, skills, things they were working on with the coaching staff. But he definitely stood out. And you're going to see, if you hadn't seen it on X, I had posted, they had the targets out towards the end of the session. And he blasted a couple of them. And I caught one on video. But he looks like he's for real. And I talked to him afterwards. I hope the audio came out good because the locker room was kind of loud. I talked to him for a couple minutes after, but seems like a nice kid. He was excited to be there, and he really looks good. Devil 130, how long until we could see Mikhail Yegorov? Probably, yeah, he's super young. I would say he's going to play. If I had to bet on it, I would say he plays this year at BU. We know that. And then the year after, maybe he plays 1 year in Utica. I don't think you see him at the earliest until, the 28-29 season. Yeah, so at that point, he'd be like 23. Yeah, Mr. White says analytics guys don't like spending big bucks on goaltending, unfortunately. It's kind of what I said before. I can't see that being a Sonny move. Unless he could put that kind of philosophy aside for the Lou Lamoriello philosophy. He did grow up a Devils fan, very knowledgeable about the history of the Devils, and did work with Lou Lamoriello briefly. Maybe he stuns the world and he does go for Hellebuck, but I just don't think so. Probolt has been talking about Nyes forever. I like Nyes, but I'm worried about his stats, but Robertson wants big money. I don't think Toronto's going to trade Nyes. Captain Mofongo, Nico needs to leave some meat on the bone with that contract. My gut tells me there's not going to be much meat left. I think it's going to be minimal meat or possibly scraped clean. Bobby says, I have full faith in Sonny, but I pray to God he isn't targeting that hothead Binnington. Some people were talking about him in the past couple weeks and speculating that he could be a guy. It's going to be interesting. There's so many question marks now. Mr. White says we should target LeBron. He's looking for a new team. DJ Silva, Sonny's definitely not done yet. It's a fun time to be a Devils fan. No, I think he's far from done. Like I've been saying to everyone for the past week or so, that you got to give it time. People were just outraged after the draft. Like, he has a plan. I fully believe he has a plan. I know many of you have the post-Fitz stress disorder or the post-Fitzgerald stress disorder, but this is a new day. This is a new era, and I do believe Sonny is going to be very calculated and methodical. I believe he's had kind of a roadmap that he wanted to kind of follow from when he first got this job, and I believe he's going about it exactly as he wanted to. And also, I mean, Markey is a great backup goalie behind Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky's gone. I don't know if you heard, but Bobrovsky's not going to be back there. They're going to most likely have a tandem of Jacob Markstrom and Akira Schmid. What a world. Ethan says, calling it right now, Devils versus Panthers home opener. That was that the home opener last year? I know that. I think it was. Yeah, the home opener was against the Panthers last year. Austin, what's up? Devils Den says, let Sonny cook. Huge move. Mr. White says, Chico, you like getting curb stomped for a decade straight. I'm used to seeing this team make the playoffs with a hand tied behind their backs, and now we're getting lapped by mediocre teams. Anders Lee going to free agency. Another guy that at the right price would also improve the Devils. But there's no shortage of these guys. That's what I've been trying to say for a long time. Like, there's tons of names out there that technically would improve the team on the surface. But you obviously need to get a deal that makes sense. And I'd have to believe Anders Lee is another guy looking for a final payday who, wants to get paid. It's just simple as that. I'm sure the Islanders would have liked to have him back at the right price. But the new cap era, people are going to be getting paid big bucks. Dr. PG4U says, Hellebuck at 33 years old and $8.5 million for another 5 years is a no-go for me. He is going to regress in the next 2 or 3 years, and then we'd have an even worse issue than we did with Markey. Yeah, but the thing is, there's no guarantee of that. You look at Bobrovsky, he won back-to-back cups with the Panthers as a 34-year-old, about to be 35. Because he was very close to his – when is his birthday? I know it's close. I was looking at this the other day. Yeah, his birthday's in September. So you're talking about a guy that – so he was 30. Yeah, he was 35, about to be 36. A few months away from being 36 for the first cup. And then for the second cup, he was 36, about to be 37. So I understand that everyone is nervous about old goalies and old players. But Bobrovsky won back-to-back cups as damn near a 36 and 37-year-old guy. The great Martin Brodeur brought the Devils to the Cup Finals at 40 in 2012. So it's not to say that Hellebuck is either one of these guys. Everyone's different, and you never know. Some guys break down entirely, but I think for a lot of teams, they look at that as the ultimate win-now move and hope that he ages gracefully as he hits his mid-30s. But he's not going to be cheap. Doug, drafting center depth when we have zero center depth is a good move. Now, of course, making the trade to use the 12th overall for a roster impact player was the ideal move if it made sense in a trade. Yeah, and I have to believe that there was nothing that Sonny Mehta deemed sensible, and that's why he drafted with the pick. And I think you should be okay with that. If you trust Sonny, and some of you do, some of you don't, I'm sure there's some of you that thought he was going to be good and then kind of changed your opinion after the draft, which is crazy to me. Give it time. Give it time. Michael Oxhorn says, are Malik and Yegorov the future? I think so. If I had to put money on it, I would say that could very well be a tandem for the Devils a few years from now. Mr. White says, people worrying what Hellebuck will look like in 5 years when Jack might bolt in 3 if we don't turn this thing around ASAP. I mean, people are kind of running wild with this too. I mean, listen, it's a possibility, but I do think there is plenty of time to make this team competitive and not have to worry about that. But now as you see players kind of forcing their way out of situations, you know, it obviously has crossed many people's minds. Pyro Gob, what's up? Possibility of LeChance making a splash this season. There's a chance. At this point, I would say it's probably not a great one just because now we have, you know, they just made this deal for 2 bottom 6 guys. Even with, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's going to be tough. There's going to be some stiff competition for maybe 1 or 2 spots on the bottom 6, I think. Doug, do you think one of the first signings Sonny makes will be Gritsuk's extension? Maybe get that deal Nico's on the books and work from there. I think they're both going to be announced soon, if not tomorrow, within a couple days after. Blackatron says, I used to rage about the analytics nerds, but I'm all in on Sonny. He ain't no nerd. Could have swore he was. Timu, Sonny's in a tough position. I was never angry at him. Fitzgerald did so much damage to the franchise, which is true. But he needs ample time. He's not going to fix all the issues in one offseason, but I do believe he will put this team in a better position to succeed next season with what he does in the next few days and leading up to the season. Titus Dream says, let's be real, the Devil situation is not as bad as everyone is saying. Fitz made some bad deals, but this is not what Shiro had to work with. We have assets. I mean, do you mean assets in terms of like roster players, or are you talking about assets for a deal? Because 2 of the best or most valuable assets the Devils had to make deals are done now. You know, the 12th overall pick was obviously a valuable one, as well as Shimo Nemitz. You know, they drafted with the pick. Shimo Nemitz got traded. So there's still some pieces that could be moved, but 2 of the biggest bullets have been removed from the chamber. Absolutely. Mr. White says, we can't roll with a cap strap team in question marks and net. Did we not learn our season with VTech? Or did we not learn our lesson with VTech? SST is just throwing out ridiculous trade scenarios. Average Joe says 12 million 5 years for Nico. Eric, stupid question on rookies. How come Jack and Luke started right away while the recent ones don't or won't? So, first on Jack. Jack was a number 1 overall. So typically, you know, you're going to see McKenna play for the Leafs right away too. There has been historically, most of the time, number 1 picks in recent times play in the league right away. They're considered NHL ready. There's pressure from, you know, ownership, marketing, all these things that you have the number 1 overall pick, the guy's NHL ready or close to it, you know, varying degrees of NHL readiness, I suppose, depending on who the number 1 is. But teams just throw them out there into the fire. And obviously, if you have the number one overall pick, your team was not good. So you're kind of desperate for something positive. And so number 1 overall picks, a lot of the time, will play right away. That was the case with Jack Hughes. And in the case of Luke Hughes, he did not play right away. He was drafted in 2021, and he made his debut in April of 23, nearly 2 years later. Nearly two years later, was playing in college for Michigan. So rookies most of the time do not play right away. And in terms of the guys that the Devils drafted a couple days ago, most of them are 17, 18, maybe a couple 19-year-olds in there. I think they're all 17 or 18. Like, they're several years away from playing in the league. Robert says, I can't stop looking at your Marty gear. Where did you get it? I've been curating for the Devils Museum for quite some time. For well over 2 decades now. We're actually getting close to 3 decades of curation. And the Marty stuff is amongst some of the nicest pieces for the museum. Historic. Devils fan 1, any way that Sonny can make a big splash or 2 without trading Dougie? I don't think so. Obviously, outside of trading a core piece, but if we're talking about keeping the core intact and Dougie, I mean, the only other lever you have to really flip to free up money in a potential deal would be Mercer, which is $4 million. If there's going to be a big splash, it would have to involve Dougie or or a member of the core, because the money can't just be created. Titus Dream, I think Salayev takes a roster spot day 1 if we don't trade him. They need to move Dougie. So it's funny you say that. I was thinking about it the other day, this exact scenario. I was like, is there any way whatsoever that the Devils believe he could play in the league this year? I mean, I definitely thought he was going to play in Utica, but I was like, and there's some other guys in the mix as well, but Salayev would be the one where you're like, he might be the front runner to steal a spot or force his way onto the lineup. But it would be interesting. And even if it's not Salayev, is there another guy in the fold that they think could step in, not necessarily into Dougie's role, but just in terms of filling a hole in the D? If they do move on from Dougie, can they still put together a D core that wouldn't completely wither? It's all interesting. I did not know Bobrovsky's gone. Well, he's not gone yet, but he will be. Do you know any embroiderers that are trustworthy? Email me. Shoot me an email. Chico Resch says, much rather have DeBrincat than Larkin. I think you're just looking at pure production, and I get it. I do think, it just depends. I do think Larkin brings more than just the scoring, but I certainly know a lot of people just look at the numbers and like, oh, get DeBrincat. I don't think they're in on him either. Devil Woman 30, speaking of the schedule, do you know when it's going to be released? It's typically mid-July. SST said Markstrom will do okay in a stacked Florida team. I completely agree with that. Michael Madry. Love the trade, but let's not kid ourselves. A lot of work to be done. Can't roll into the season with the Dawes as 1B. Need to bring in competition. Also need a top 6 scoring winger. And to the goalie point, with a strong camp and preseason, while it's not likely, I'm going to say it's not impossible for Jacob Malik to possibly leapfrog him. You can't, he's there too. He's in the mix. Could he be a guy that kind of not necessarily comes out of nowhere, but gets an unexpected bump? Collect Records, what's up? Says, love this trade. Pyro talking about old goalies said Hasek did it at like 39 and 02. Wow was pretty old in 01 when he did it too. Yeah, there's plenty of history of older goaltenders getting their team to the finals or winning cups. When that was in the context of people saying Hellebuck's too old. But it's listen, it's certainly a gamble and a chance that a team would take if they're going to get him. But the reality is almost everything's a gamble. Like, you don't know how things are going to turn out. If you knew definitively how something would play out, then being an NHL general manager would be the funnest and easiest job on the planet. If you could just see the future, if you had that ability, it would be a really fun game to play. Connor Allen, this might be stretching it, but if Werenski ends up leaving Columbus and they happen to see Dougie as a possible replacement, could Sonny take advantage of that to get Marchenko for Dougie and more? I mean, I think that's super stretching it, if I'm being real. That's super stretchy. Tosh is not sure if Hami Naho has a spot on the roster next season until injuries, at least. He's going to be on the team. That would be... Lenny will be there. Tosh said Nason's got to be moved. That's another guy people have been kind of discussing. Is it possible Sonny looks to move on from him? I think some question marks surrounding his injury and all that. He was out for a while. He had the procedure, was rehabbing from that. Then he came back, and it's unfortunate. Justin said Sonny is not getting fired. Get that out of your heads. I mean, it's insane to even suggest it. Wiz D says, I'm not on board for a Dawes Allen duo. And I'd imagine a lot of people wouldn't be. And time will tell if that is the duo. It may or may not. It may or may not. That would be certainly a gutsy, calculated gamble based on most likely analytics would be the driving factor behind that. But we'll see. There's still plenty of time to get another goalie. Morkel Jackson says, please keep Dylan and Siegenthaler. I love them. Casey, another interesting guy. Casey's the one guy I could see being moved. Or could be a guy that, with some shuffling pieces in the defense, ends up on the team. He just changed agents recently, which is usually a precursor of something. He just changed agencies, I think, like a week or two ago. But he's definitely one where it's like, okay, he's been around for a few years now. Is he going to get a crack? Is he going to get a crack in the NHL full-time on the Devils? Or will he be dealt and get that chance somewhere else? Brandon Lane, also, I hope we put Timo Meier on power play 1 finally next year and keep him on the right wing. Would you think Casey and Mercer could be on the move? I think Timo needs to get consistent power play 1 time. And obviously, and it's not to make excuses, he had a down year last year. But historically, in San Jose, before we traded for him, a good chunk of his production came on the power play. for people to relentlessly shred the guy. And again, it was a down season, but to consistently shred him for lack of production when he's starved of power play one time, it's a little ill-advised in my opinion. Bacchanal brunch. It's evident that Sonny is putting in the work and kicking all the tires. Sometimes the difficult part isn't pulling the trigger, but collecting as much information before to make the informed choice. Very well said. Ethan Ace, sorry if you already mentioned it, but doing you guys, sometimes you guys are killing me. I gotta read these things quickly and then do like translations. If you already mentioned it, but I guess during the season, do you still go live after games? Yes, the post game live show will continue after every single Devils game. The home games, they'll be from somewhere in the arena, which I'm not thrilled about, and most of the away games that aren't close, they will be from this home studio, but they will be live from the Rock after home games. Mr. White says, big chat in Winnipeg right now about Hellebuck potentially being on the move and NJ being a potential player. Who is saying that? Who is saying that? Wasted Youth Caper. I love this move, Ace. 2 solid bottom 6 and Cap Helly come to Jersey, bud. Oh, and Steve Sauce 420. So the people advocating for Connor Hellebuck are coming out of the woodwork. We have a lot of anti-Hellebuckers in here. People that don't want to spend the cap money on a goalie, which I to some extent understand. There is no right or wrong answer here. This is a philosophical difference. Do you value spending $8 to $9 million on a goaltender or not? And it seems like it's a very kind of nearly split down the middle topic. Brett Repage says, whatever we do, we need to keep Allen as a 1B because he has the best goalie contract. Yeah, Jake Allen is not going anywhere, friends. Jake Allen will be on this team next year for sure. Signing a legendary team-friendly deal last summer, a $1.8 million times 5 years. What a team-friendly guy. He left a lot of meat on the bone. It was an overwhelming amount of meat left on the bone by Jake Allen. B Now B says, Timo on the power play and on his proper wing side will be fine. Robert says, Scott Stevens said in Boomer's podcast on MSG he wants to be a head coach. Imagine he's Devils head coach. When was that? Timu says, Ace, I received your package today. Thanks again for the giveaway show. There'll be another one too. And I think there's a couple people that still have not emailed me. My apologies. I've been super busy and the one-man orchestra rolls on here. And so I've been mailing things out in waves. I have a couple other packages that'll go out in the next couple days. Some of my people outside of the United States, Austin and Pyro Gob, I believe it is. I have to figure out the customs paperwork, which is a pain in the ass. So that'll be getting out soon as well. And there's a couple people that still have to email me. But yeah, they'll be probably right before the season, I would say. There's going to be a giveaway show on this channel as well. Keep your eyes peeled for that. SST said everyone here to be jumping if Myers traded for Marchenko, but nobody would admit that. I mean, I think that would be an interesting move. I think people would be really jumping if Marchenko was somehow added without trading Timo. Chris Ladd, I can't see Casey having a future with the Devils. I expect him to be used as a part of a future trade package. It could be. We talked about that. I mean, I'm not sure of anything, Justin, but I'd have to believe the overwhelming odds would say that he remains. But a complete goalie turnover would be interesting. We have another pro heli. Anthony Fromain says, time to get heli, perfect stopgap until we find our future netminder. He has a 5-year deal, though. That's going to be the thing that a lot of people point to as a reason not to get him. Age, length of term remaining, and the cap hit of 8.5. Patterson Plank Road, welcome back. During a regular season, scoring wins games. During the postseason, defense and goaltending win series. Pick your poison. Dirty 1313 Bird, when is your next live stream? There's probably going to be a night before free agency one tonight, but they'll be they pop up pretty regularly. So I would say just put your put the notifications on. If you're not subscribed, obviously subscribe, hit the thumbs up, all that stuff. But put the notifications on. Because on days like today, this just came out of nowhere. When news happens, we go live. That's how it works. So put those notifications on. Robert Isaacson says, look at Leon Rose did. Little by little, he assembled the right pieces. Let Sonny work through the plan. One trade or signing, I guess, won't fix the roster. That was supposed to say. Markstrom was a disaster signing 2 years ago, but Runner never admit that. Do you mean the trade? Do you mean the contract, the 2-year deal he got, or the trade? It didn't pan out, but the Devils needed to do something. And at the time, it seemed like a sensible move. Meyer's not going anywhere. Our team is damn lucky to have him. B Now B says, you think it's possible we still land Quinn? Honestly, anything is possible. I don't think it's likely whatsoever. Anything is possible. I don't think it's likely, and I do think we get the news tomorrow or shortly thereafter that he's extended in Minnesota. But until that happens, you have to give it at least a small percentage chance that it could happen. I just don't see it at all. I've maintained from the very beginning that I do believe Quinn stays in Minnesota at least for a few years. Chico Resch, I played with Stolars growing up on the Junior Titans. He's a diehard Devils fan. It'd be awesome to see him home. Him bringing the cup to Bar A after the Panthers win was awesome. I heard about that. What is this? Devil Woman 30. Hockey Insider is the one reporting Devils and Jets are in advanced negotiations for a deal that would send Connor Hellebuck to New Jersey. Is this one of these like nonsense accounts though? This is one of the things about all the social media and all these things is that there's just tons of people that just make crap up entirely. Just make stuff up entirely and people go for it, and it's kind of annoying. That's why you kind of have to understand what you're looking at. Yeah, like this is an anonymous account. Has a lot of followers, which doesn't mean anything necessarily. A lot of vagaries. But I see the report you're talking about. Yeah, this is a BS account. It's a BS account that has somehow it's a BS account that just posts nonsense. So I wouldn't put any stock into that. It's a Fugazi account. Michael Shane says Allen is super attractive to teams because of his salary and his outstanding play last season. Teams probably view him as a legit option for cheap. I think he's being packaged to Winnipeg. I think this is your imagination getting the best of you. If I'm being honest. But Jake Allen has trade protection. Part of the reason he gave the Devils the super team-friendly deal he did is because he has, I believe he has a young kid or multiple kids and likes the area, likes living in New Jersey, didn't want to move their schools and stuff. I believe that played a huge part of it. So I cannot see personally any world whatsoever that he agrees to go to Winnipeg. I just cannot see it at all. Yeah, nobody. Some random nobody is reporting it. That is correct. DRPG, what are we going to have to give up for Hellebuck? If we get him, where's the cap space for any other moves? Top six forward or Quinn Hughes if he doesn't re-sign in mini? Which is why I don't think. Yeah, Dreger, someone mentioned this earlier. A credible source said the Devils have not been in the mix for Hellebuck. And who knows? Maybe I can't see it being a thing, but maybe Sonny's waiting in the wings to see what happens with Quinn Hughes. And maybe that could be a holdup for anything else big until he knows definitively that Quinn's staying in Minnesota. I certainly think he is, but that would be obviously the blockbuster of all blockbusters. The Devils last won the Stanley Cup in 2003. Pete, 1287 of the 5 potential free agent targets you listed, who would you want the most? That's a loaded question, Pete. So, I mean, the most impact player on the list, in my opinion, would be Marchment. But I don't know if that would be the guy that I think is the... It's tough, but Marchment's definitely, I think, the best fit for the Devils and would contribute the most. I do think because of the low cost and commitment, because he would only want a 1-year deal probably, and again, this is all just kind of off-season, somewhat nonsensical talk, but not fully nonsensical. Patrick Kane, I think, would be a great mentor and guy to have around this young team, specifically Jack Hughes. Obviously, Patty Kane, USA legend. Him and Jack have some sort of relationship prior to all of this. I do think a guy like Kane on a very, 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 very team-friendly deal for a year could bring a lot of experience and help in a lot more ways than just on-ice production. So that one is certainly intriguing to me as well. Dire Wolf, I really wonder what the team's plans are for Casey, thinking he could be moved for scoring help. I'd have to believe after being in Utica for a few years and he's had some injury issues, I'd have to think his value is definitely not what it was a few years ago. So I really wouldn't know exactly how other teams would perceive him, because if you're trying to trade him, they're going to be like, well, if he was so good, why did you have him in the minors all this time? And there's the injury question mark, but he certainly would have some value to teams. The question is what is that value? Anthony says trading Allen to be a straight-up a-hole move. Yeah, he's not going to waive to go to some place like that. There's no way. B Now B says, I feel let down if we don't get Quinn as a free agent right now. Isn't he a free agent in 3 days? No, he's not. First of all, free agency opens tomorrow, but he's not a free agent. He is eligible to sign a contract extension with the Minnesota Wild. He already is under contract to play for the Wild for next season. Starting tomorrow, he could sign an extension there. But so that's how it works. He's scheduled to be a free agent a year from tomorrow, July 1st, 2027. Helly is going to Mini. That'd be interesting. I could totally see that. B Now B says if he lands Quinn, he will have truly undone the Fitz fumble. I don't even know. I have to really think about that. I don't even know what that package would look like. I just can't see it for many reasons. For many, many reasons, I can't see it. And after Fitz fumbled the deal, I said right away that I think the earliest you see Quinn as a Devil is multiple years down the line, if ever. Peyton Bratton says, ready to watch Erod. Always liked him even when he was in Florida. Is that Matt? I can't tell your picture. Is that Matt? Peyton Bratton, thank you for the super. No more coming in second. Bye, Tom. Hello, Sonny. No, well, I mean, he didn't come in second on this deal, but let's see. So I think he won some people back for the ultimate naysayers that have wanted to see something dramatic happen during the draft, and the ones that were super upset that the Devils drafted with the pick. Michael Shane, Casey with Mercer is a nice trade proposal. You get a good young player for your lineup now, as well as a young, high potential D-man. Yeah, but you're not getting, what are you hoping to get in exchange for that? I do think there's probably tons of teams that would love a Mercer Casey trade package coming their way, but they're not going to be sending you, a superstar player for that. And again, I've talked about Mercer forever. He is a good bottom six player. I've defended him against so many people for so long, and I just think it all sort of stems from unrealistic expectations. I think people expected him to be like a 70-point guy, a 70-point top six guy, and it just never happened. It never happened, but that's not to say he's a bad hockey player. I think he could do a lot. He's one of those Swiss jackknifes that you could play in all scenarios, and he has value to the Devils, and he'd have value to any NHL team. And I don't think they would ever trade him for the sake of trading him. They would only trade him if they were upgrading the team and it made sense. People act as if he's this like anchor on the Devils. It's kind of wild to me. Dire Wolf, long shot, but Quinn may want out of many. Their contracts, cap situation is a mess and will be a lot worse after Quinn gets a bag. Odds are he signs for 3 years, but Sonny would be smart to wait it out. I don't know. I think he genuinely likes being there. I think his situation there is in terms of, he made it known he wanted to play with his brothers, but it wasn't like this. I think people are blowing it a little bit out of proportion, but I think outside of playing with his brothers, this is probably the next best thing. He has two of his buddies from Team USA on the Wild in Brock Faber and Matt Boldy. He has a very good relationship with the general manager, Bill Guerin. Minnesota Wild are in a position to push for a cup, as difficult as their road may be to get there in the West. And Minnesota loves Wild hockey. It's a hockey crazed city. So I do think that while it was probably never in his vision to go from Vancouver to Minnesota, I think as a result of him going there, I think he genuinely enjoys it now. And I totally think he's going to sign that extension and then reassess in a few years. B now says I'd give Bratton a Quinn deal. I just don't even know. It would take a lot because the Guerin and the Wild gave up a lot to get him. And I think they would get a similar package. They definitely would get a similar package in return if they were to trade him this summer. Like they definitely would. At least from the Devils, because it would be assumed that he's signing there long-term. Now, yeah, I don't see any other team getting involved in that. I feel like he's either signing the extension in Minnesota, which I think is the most likely thing, or they get a massive haul from the Devils. But I don't even know what that haul would look like. But it's certainly, you would have to trade a core piece. Maybe they would take Brad. I don't know. Meyer for Hellebuck. I don't think Winnipeg would take that deal. Supernova says, can we please acknowledge the fact that we no longer have a Dave Rogalski? Do you mean Dave Rogalski himself or a goaltending coach? XO the Juice Man, Sonny is still doing post-draft conference, right? The fact he hasn't shows how busy he is cooking up the next prime rib. Yeah. He's going to talk to the media either tomorrow or Wednesday, I believe is the plan. I'm looking forward to that. No. Oh, no. Can you guys still hear me? Someone jinxed me the other day. Can you guys still hear me? Someone jinxed me the other day with this. You jinxed me. Oh, now I'm breaking stuff. Whoa. I don't like this. I got to zoom out. Hold on. You broke it. Technical difficulties. Hold on, I'm trying to fix this, folks. We had a good run. And we're back. Oh my God, we had a good run with no technological impairments. But yeah, Sonny will talk to the media in the next couple of days. I look forward to that. I have a bunch of questions, as I'm sure a bunch of other people do as well. If it goes out again, I'm just going to call it. Hopefully it doesn't. Would you be interested in Anders Lee, assuming he doesn't want a 5-year deal? Listen, Anders Lee and a million other guys could be improvements for the team. There is tons of guys that would improve the team, but it has to be a sensible deal, and Sonny Mehta is only going to make sensible deals. The deal that was struck today is one of the most sensible deals I could recall in a long time. I mean, like I said, he accomplished 3 big things in one deal. He got rid of the Markstrom contract, upgraded the bottom 6, and created cap space. It was a 3-for-1 special. He pulled the 3-for-1 special. So if there's a sensible Anders Lee deal to be had, maybe they'd be interested. I don't know. But again, that's a guy that would improve the team. Is he the best option or part of the plan is a whole nother question. But Anders Lee is a throwback kind of gritty warrior too. Although I'm not going to lie, forever now, and for those of you that have been following this team for at least a few years, one of the I almost feel bad. Oh, come on, where is it? Whenever I hear Anders Lee for the rest of my life, when I hear that name, can anyone read my mind in the chat? What am I going to show right now? Somebody who could kind of read my mind will probably know. but you would have to be an OG, longtime viewer to know. Does anyone know what I'm about to show right now on the topic of Anders Lee? Can anyone predict it? I'll always I will always think of this. I was at this game, sitting very close to the ice. Oh, guys, it's over. I was sitting very close to the ice. I'm gonna wind this down now, but I'm gonna stay on for a couple more minutes. Audio only. My apologies, but this was a crazy sequence, and you could probably find it online. And I implore you to go look it up. On the same play, Brendan Smith knocked him down to the ice twice. I think the first one, Anders Lee tried to hit him, and like Brendan Smith dropped his shoulder and dumped him. And then a couple seconds later, Brendan Smith skated across the ice, smashed Anders Lee again, knocked him down. Then Anders Lee got up, and then Brendan Smith put the beats on him, left him bloody. The visor was all bloody. You see the blood all over his jersey. And then Anders Lee kind of skated off like a psycho, and he like made this crazy face gesture with his face all bloody. It was a great moment. Brendan Smith, man, what a warrior that guy was. Played forward sometimes, played D, dropped the gloves. What a player. I'm looking in the chat. Someone got it, I think. Someone knew. Yeah, Robert got it. The Smith fight. Yep, Smith fight. I was at that game too. I agree with this, Mr. White. I think a lot of people said this place wants a 20-man roster that's between 18 and 28, which is hilarious because most cup winners are loaded with veterans. I've talked about this a million times. People need to get over the fact that not everyone is going to be under 30. Like, you need veterans and guys that are 32, 33, 34, whatever it is. When you look at cup winners, they are a nice blend of young guys, veterans, and some of the age groups in between. Guys that are 32 or 33, they're not necessarily washed and that guy's useless. We saw it last year when people were talking about the possibility of getting Steven Stamkos. When the Predators were in the toilet early on in the season, many people, there was rumors that the Devils were circling to see if he was available or whatever. And so many people were like, oh, he's a million years old. He's washed, blah, blah, blah. And Stammer had 40-some-odd goals last year and was doing it big. So I agree with Mr. White there that, people that are super hyper-focused on just young players, it's a fallacy. You don't need all of your guys to be young guys. You need some of the veterans as well. Zach, what's up? Just got here. Big news today. I'm going to try one more time to fix the camera. If not, I got stuff to do. Bear with me 1 second. Actually, let me leave it off for a minute. I think it overheated. I'm going to try it one more time in a minute. But what else do we got here? Dogzilla also late to the party. Alan Dawes' tandem would free up the space needed for Sonny to do what he's got to do. Dawes deserves a shot. We shall see. Sonny is a legit miracle worker. If he stands pat with that duo and does not invest any further money into the goaltending tandem, that will give him more flexibility, obviously, to address all of the other needs of this team, which you would believe are with the forward group. Dire Wolf says, great contract for Grits. What is the contract for Grits? Did I miss something? Let me see. No way. Breaking news. Wow. Sonny is dealing right now, folks. Sonny is straight up dealing We have breaking news. We have breaking news. Oh my God! Well, today was the ultimate day of everything going wrong. Literally everything. I can't even list all the things that went wrong today for me. From the very beginning of the day, it was just calamity. One calamity after the next. One calamity after the next of technology not working, traffic. Breaking news. The Grits has been signed per the Devils. Order up. Very nice work here. 3-year deal at $3.25 million for 9.75. A lot of people were speculating much higher than this. What did AFP Analytics have him at? I forget, but I thought it was going to be more. I expected a little bit more of like a 5x5-ish kind of situation. Let's see what AFP had him projected at. They had a 2-year deal at $3.04 million or a 4-year at $5,889. So it's kind of right. Yeah, I mean, 3 years that's another solid win for Sonny Mehta on the day. And now this man is starting to really shape this team and put his fingerprint on the New Jersey Devils. I'm going to try to put the camera on again in a minute, but for now, 3 years at $3.25 million seems like a pretty good deal. And I'm sure Grits is happy with that as well. Getting almost a $10 million payday. Good for him. One of the silver linings on last season, one of the few silver linings, and I'm not a big silver linings guy, as many of you know. There is no moral victories. There are no silver linings. But one of them from last season was the potential future of Arseny Gritsuk on this New Jersey Devils club. And for $3.25 million for 3 years, I think that's another job well done by Sonny Mehta. SST said Fitzgerald would have given Gritsuk $6 million. Tasha says, wow, what a deal. Meat on the bone for sure. Justin says Sonny is cooking. Grits is back. Zach, wow, what a day. So stoked right now. Zach says Sonny is wheeling and dealing right now. Love it. Bobby, thank you for the super. In my opinion, that's a team-friendly deal from Grits. He is worth so much more in my opinion. All right, I'm going to try to put the camera back on. As I break stuff here. Whoa, zoom. Let's see, did that work? I hit all kinds of stuff. I'm breaking everything in my studio. And we're back for now. Oh, nope, it was a fake out. Oh, man, this camera is annoying. Super annoying. Give us all the grits. Oh, I got to put the grits back up. I don't know what happened there. Zach says, Sonny going to make a crazy big trade. He got filler players because some important pieces are about to leave. Well, what is your prediction, Zach? It's a little cryptic. What do you think is going to happen? What are the important pieces that you think are about to leave? I'm going to end up smashing this camera, I think. I think that's what's going to happen. Pretty sure that's exactly what's going to happen. Might have to do a swap. We have some backup cameras. Now we have two Jespers. Eric Slappin says, I was bummed they didn't make an offer for Cotter. Well, Sonny had a plan. In comes Jesper Boquist, Evan Rodriguez. We got Sonny is here. Gritsy, baby. Robert says, love the deal, but don't eat grits, though. Peyton Bratton, thank you for the super. He gained my respect, dropped in the gloves that hit on Brown, Sonny. He's referring to Brendan Smith. That was such a great sequence. You guys got to look it up. Put in YouTube Anders Lee, Brendan Smith. It'll definitely come up. It was such a great play. Why is this doing this? Let's go Devils. Sonny is the real deal. Snorkel Life, a D-man is leaving. He's going to run Chisholm on the third pair. Bring us a top six winger. Great day, boys. Let's go Devils. Yeah, we talked about that earlier, Snorkel Life. I don't know if you were here. It certainly seems like that was a precursor to another move on the defense. And if that, in fact, is the case, this will end up being a super, super active offseason for Sonny Mehta as he continues to mold this team in his vision. It started off with shipping off Shimo Nemitz, getting the picks, decided to draft at the number 12 overall, and then today moves Jacob Markstrom to bring in Boquist and Evan Rodriguez. Mr. White's starting to come around. He said, Grit's getting 3.25 times 3 is a massive steal. Second good move from Sonny. The hell is frozen over, folks. Mr. White gave Sonny 2 good moves today. 2 good moves. Philip Kelly says Fitz would have offered 2 times $6 million and no trade clause. Zach says Nico is going to be traded. I just cannot see it. That would certainly be an unexpected turn. Yeah, the camera's toast. Camera's completely toast. Gudis to Florida, huh? Saw some rumors about that. That heli trade is going to get the fans believing. I don't think that's going to happen. That would be another blockbuster. Man. Metalander, what's up? Remember when Bedard skated face first into Brendan Smith's stick? That was another very chippy game. Devils Hawks was a very chippy game. Florida's the ultimate goon squad now. Yeah. Yep. Randall Flagg says, bet there are crickets from those calling Sonny Fitz 2.0. I already told the people that were popping off at the mouth to deposit their apologies in the chat. We got a few of them, but there's still some that need to see more before they're believers. But plenty of off season to go, and Sonny's just getting started today. Trades Markstrom. Trades Markstrom, signs Grits at a good number. And wow, it's only 3:10 p.m. and free agency begins tomorrow. B says, I think Nico contract is for Quinn package. I got a hunch, probably just dreaming. That would be really, I think I'd call it shocking. I think it would be shocking because while obviously Quinn is a great player, what does your team look like down the middle now? You have Jack Hughes and Cody Glass at center. I mean, I don't know. I just can't see it. I just can't see it, but who knows? Anything could happen. Yeah, rest in peace to the camera. I have another one I'll probably swap it for later. R. Roma, there's no way they're running an Allen Dawes tandem, are they? I think there is a way. Phillips says Dawes has potential. B, Jack Mercer, Glass, top 3. I don't think they want to put Mercer at center. He has said publicly that he prefers to play wing, and he plays better on the wing. To force him to center, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to try one more thing for this camera, and then I'm going to smash it. So Dawes starts. Well, I mean, in the today's world of tandem goalies, the starters for a lot of teams play between 47 to 52 games. So I don't think they want to give Jake Allen that workload. So if it was Allen and Dawes, I think you're going to see Dawes play 45-ish games, 47 games with Allen playing the rest. It's definitely a calculated gamble if that's the way they go. SST says Mehta will give Heischer 4 times 10.5. I can't see Nico signing for that low, but that would leave a little meat on the bone. That would be another sizable Sonny win, I would say. Brody Max, are you streaming tomorrow? Yeah, at some point. Tomorrow is another day of there's a development camp session, so I'll be there, and then we'll be streaming at some point. There's a chance I'm going to come back tonight for the night before free agency. Husky Unchained says, from booze face to poker face, the forecast is sunny. Let's go Devils. Phillips says, I would take Dawes over 25-26 Markstrom any day. I think the hope, if they were to keep Markstrom, is obviously that he had a bounce-back season, but Florida is now taking that chance with today's trade. Erod top 3 center, interesting. You think he's going to leapfrog Cody Glass? Peyton, you think Glass gets pushed to 4C? At least set up the other camera and smash live. Mike Randall Flag says your camera went the way it fits. Interesting. Peyton Bratton says Rodriguez, as it stands today, assuming, right, that Jack and Nico, they're not going anywhere. I don't think people are speculating the Nico stuff. I think is crazy, but Jack, Nico, Rodriguez at 3C and Cody Glass at 4C. And even if you flopped them and Cody Glass stayed 3 and Rodriguez is 4, I mean that's pretty decent. That's a pretty decent center group. But what does that mean for? Yeah, I mean Bukestad. Are they going to either trade him or put him at wing? We didn't get to see a whole lot of him as a Devil last year. It was 26 games. I thought it was a little bit less. Not much production from the bottom 6 at all last year, including Bukestad. Snorkel Life with a super sticker. Thank you for the super sticker. I don't even know what that is, but thank you. Let me see. I'm just scrolling through these comments here. I'm not going to lie. I actually enjoy not having to be on the camera, but I know it's definitely not as engaging for the people, and I wish I had other photos to put up. No, Nico Hischier has not signed yet. That's just a rumor that was being heavily talked about. Yeah, Big Mike is the hope for the future. Big Mike could be the next franchise goaltender. Keyword being could. I'm not crowning him that, but he has a lot of potential, still has a lot of developing to do. But could the Devils find their next franchise goalie after not having one really at all since the great Martin Brodeur retired? Hypothetically, who would you want? Oh, if you're talking about out of those goalies, and I'm not saying that I think they should do this, because it is, to allocate that type of cap space to a guy like Helly, that means you're not going to be able to add, or at least add big time up front. And I think that's what most people are clamoring for, is the big time forward. So you're not going to get Hellebuck, barring that Sonny just goes on a rampage and starts making a ton of trades, you're not getting Hellebuck and a big time forward. So I think it just comes down to, what do you personally believe the team needs more? I do think the scoring needs help. Goaltending was not great last year, but I do think the scoring drought was the biggest issue for the team. But having a guy like Hellebuck in net gives you a great chance to win every night, and you could potentially see some of those 2-1 wins. Those 2-1 wins where you might not have, your forwards might not have their best stuff on any given night, but you could still manufacture a win because you have a guy like Hellebuck in between the pipes. But on your list, Bobby, if I had to pick one of those goalies, I would go with Hellebuck. Hold on. I'm going to try one more time. Oh. No, it's done. Rest in peace to the camera. But Grits, 3 by 3.25. We got Akira Schmidt to Florida. I kind of wish we could have kept him, especially after beating the Rangers a few years ago. Yeah, it was. What a disaster. What a disaster. Andrew Lucas says Helly shouldn't be an option, which is interesting. This is another very polarizing a very polarizing topic, it seems. There's a lot of people that are pro Hellebuck, and there's a lot of people that say don't invest that on a goalie. You guys seem to be sort of split. Yeah, there's no chance of getting Quinn and Helly. I think that's pipe dreams. Outside of blowing up the team, you know. Who else can Sonny get out of Florida Bennett? No, I don't think that's going to happen. Beef Cat Original, hello, Florida fan here. You improved your team with Erod. Not a great day losing him. Yeah, I'm curious. Beef Cat Original, how do the Panthers fans feel about this deal overall? Getting Markstrom, you got Akira Schmid last night. How are you guys feeling about this? I'm going to try one more thing for the camera. Let's see what the Florida fans have to say. Bear with me. We're trying an on-the-fly camera swap. How will this pan out? How will this pan out? Calling in the old camera to action. It hasn't been in service in quite some time. Oh, that's not going to work. Kevin Weeks again with a post about Helly to Jersey. Come on. Come on, Weeks. I don't see anything about Helly to New Jersey. Where do you that's nowhere. What are you talking about? It's just the one post. Yeah, this is a throwback. I had a good run. There was no technology incidents for quite some time. Empty netters posted Devils and Hellbuck. But this is all speculation, folks. This is all just people speculating. And Dreger, I think, reported yesterday that there was no interest from the Devils as of yet. And he did say, yeah, that could change at any moment. But as of yesterday, he said the Devils were not in. Andrew Lucas says Jack needs an all-star on his wing. Bennett would be a dream, and Tom Wilson daydreaming. To either one of those guys would definitely bring bring the sandpaper. World's Worst Gamer says, I'm out. I'll be back when we get a scoring winger. I mean, you have to see improvements when they happen. It's not the level of improvement you were hoping for, but it's an improvement. Let me try something else. All right, I am gonna try the different camera here. What a pain! What a pain! It was such a good run too. I do blame SST. He's a curse. SST is a curse. There was no issue for a long time. Not a single one. Not a single one. SST comes, immediate problems. Dun, dun, dun. All right, let's see. Let's see if the old backup. No. Ho ho! Ho ho! Oh, baby. Look at this. That was tumultuous, folks. If it goes out again, it's a sign to just cut it. But we're back. Appreciate you all waiting through the lengthy. We still had audio. Check Empty Netter's tweet. But where are they getting that from, though? At this point, I really only feel like LeBron and Elliot Friedman. Let's pull up this tweet that this person is referencing. Yeah, I think this is just them just spitballing. Hellebuck to the Devils is heating up, and that will have New Jersey fans bricked up like you could. Yeah, I'll pull it up on here. Hold on. I take this as complete speculation and nothing more, but people run wild with it. Just like someone was talking about a tweet from some Fugazi account probably about an hour ago. There was some account that somehow has amassed a following, but is completely just spam, essentially. And this is the tweet that Tyler is referring to. From Empty Netters, Hellebuck to the Devils is heating up, and that will have Jersey fans bricked up completely. How are we feeling, Devils fans? I don't know. I just think this is So this is the RME. So this is the one I was talking about. Hockey Insider is a completely nonsensical account. Do not let their large following fool you. The one thing I will say, just with any sort of news or anything like that, you need to really be careful what you're looking at, because this is an account that has a bunch of followers, but they not the one on the screen. I'm not talking about Empty Netters. I'm talking about the Hockey Insider that RME is referring to. It's just a complete nonsense account, but people see it and they run wild with it. Zach, would you ever consider putting ace between Anthony Cronin to pay? I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know, but it is funny. B now B, we all just dreaming, having fun. I think the lag on Nico and Quinn are not coincidence. Oh no, is everyone going to start going there now? That that there's a Nico Quinn situation brewing. Wow, that would be massive blockbuster. But as far as this Empty Netters tweet goes, I think they're just kind of running wild with all the speculations that people are making online right now. Hockey Insider is a nobody. Yes, that is not a real source. No, I do, but on my laptop, but I'm not moving that into here. If it goes out again, it's a wrap till later. We might have to do a night before live. I mean, there's a night before free agency. There's just so many things happening. What a day. I was at development camp when Elliot Friedman tweeted that. Then I raced home. And like I said, it's one of those days where everything just went wrong. There was crazy traffic, but we're here now. I still have, keep your eyes peeled. There is going to be some development camp footage coming out shortly, and a lot more stuff. But this is a flurry of activity from Sunny Mehta the day before free agency. And I'm still waiting to see some of the apologies in the comments from some of you that had less than nice things to say over the past couple days. Reban him. I mean, Justin, I just look for trends and patterns, and the trend and pattern is that these problems happened in a previous life when SST was a regular participant, and he's here, and we had camera issues. Maybe I'm getting hacked. No, I don't know. It's just a really weird coincidence, I suppose. Tasha says top six wing is more important or better than Helly. Honestly, I can't take another year of Mercer, Connor Brown. I think a lot of people would agree with you, but there is a contingency of folks that would allocate all the resources to get Connor Hellebuck. RME, there are way more top six wingers available than elite goalies, especially guys that won Golden can possibly attract more American talent. Isn't it funny that that's kind of become like a strategy or thought process now, at least by people online talking about all this stuff like, oh, get this guy, then you get that guy. I mean, I don't think it necessarily works out like that every time, but there is, I think, going to be some linkages for some of these Team USA guys. It also is beneficial when you're playing on a team that's considered to be a contender to begin with. I'd rather Larkin than Helly. Christopher says Hellebuck to NJ and it's interesting that people are predicting that, but now people are running wild with Quinn speculation all over again. Ryden respects that I can corroborate, but these pages are just baiting. B now says that camera really throws you off. It's still a great podcast even without video. Yeah, thanks, but I don't know. Do people want me to not? Maybe I'll just do an audio thing from now on. It makes it easier on me, but I feel like people wouldn't be as, I don't know. That's an interesting one though. But that would allow me more opportunities to do some other stuff. Audio only lives. Randall Flag says Helly would be reactionary. Doesn't strike me as a Sunny move. Well, if Sunny, I mean, I could see how you could interpret that as reactionary, but if Sunny did do that, I don't think it would be reactionary. I think it would be very calculated like everything else he does. Listen, guys, if nothing else, if nothing else. And I'm not here to say that Sonny is going to be a great GM or he is a great GM. We don't know that yet, right? But assessing his background, his prior experience, what he's said thus far, and now with a couple of these moves, he seems like he could be a very good GM. It seems like he could be. I think the potential is there. And like I said before, not everyone's going to agree with every single thing. He's not going to just do things because fans want it. You know, people like Robertson, Quinn, everyone just throwing out big names. That's typical of fan bases of every pro team of every sport. But you've already seen some really nifty maneuvering. Day 2 of the draft, right? Day 2 of the draft, Devils had 4 picks going into day 2. 4 picks throughout rounds 2 through 7. I forget, they had the 2 second rounders. I think it was maybe a 4th. I forget exactly what they were, but it was originally 4 picks for day 2. 2 different times on day 2, Sonny moved back slightly in the draft to pick up an extra pick. So he turned those 4 picks into 6. First NHL draft as a general manager. He had the foresight to be like, we like this guy. We don't think they're going to take him, pick up the extra pick in the process. In the 6 drafts with Tom Fitzgerald as general manager of the Devils, he never once, not once, moved back in the draft to acquire an extra pick. It just goes to show you the 2 different ways of getting things done. But I think that was a pretty good sign, I would say, that he is a calculated assassin. Everything's measured. Everything is methodical, surgical, like Sonny the Surgeon. I'm gonna call him. That's how I'm calling him from now on. Sonny the Surgeon, because Sonny Mehta is in fact surgical. Picked up those 2 extra picks, and then the Markstrom deal today was nothing short of A+ in my opinion. Again, getting out from underneath the Markstrom contract, improving the bottom 6, and freeing up cap space. I mean, that's a miracle type deal. Patty says the empty netters guys seem to have some connections and are right occasionally. I'd give it a little bit of a consideration. I'm not saying it's complete BS like that other account. But I do think it is them just kind of playing into the public discourse that is going on over the last couple hours as a result of the Kevin Weeks tweet that has sent everyone into a frenzy. Yeah, Army says, breaking news from realist source for reals. Quinn demanding trade to NJ. Boldy wants in too. Hellebuck is a culture-changing move. I would say almost any big-time acquisition is a culture-changing move just because it signifies that, you know, inactivity and just staleness will not be tolerated anymore, and that it is a new era. Randall says, Sonny heard the slander and said, check out this hand. Doug really seems like he wants Hellebuck. We land Hellebuck and our identity instantly changes. Doug said, Ace only with his future as bright sunglasses is acceptable. Oh, you mean these? You mean these bad boys? I got him on. Doug says, Sonny is sun running. I know you like poker, and sun running is a poker term. Sonny the Surgeon. That's right. The Surgeon, you're definitely drinking the Kool-Aid. I just said 2 seconds ago, I'm not crowning him a great GM or anything of that sort as of yet, but he's made some pretty damn good moves. Picking up those 2 extra draft picks is huge. You never know what you're going to get with those guys, especially in later rounds. You're just kind of hoping for the best and picking guys that you think could be NHL talent one day. So to get 2 extra cracks at finding NHL talent is certainly a wise move by Sonny. And the deal today was a very good deal. The Markstrom trade helped out the Devils in multiple ways. So I don't know, you just seem to be committed to being negative. I don't know. B now says culture change can be great or really bad. Yeah, but I think what we're talking about here is mostly culture change for the better. I don't see how making improvements to the team in this fashion would be a negative culture change. D. Schmertz, what's up, DJ? Something tells me that Sonny isn't done for even today, not to mention one's free agency opens tomorrow. I've predicted this, DJ, for the past couple days when people were ready to just the bloodthirsty crowd. The bloodthirsty crowd has been out. Mostly, I think, just because they wanted to see the number 12 overall pick traded. But people have been just talking all sorts of smack, really, because they wanted to see immediate improvements. And I understand the root of the frustration, but Sonny's not the guy you're mad at, guys. Sonny didn't hurt you. You guys know who hurt you. It wasn't Sonny. Give the guy a chance. I kept saying, give it the offseason. And a couple days later, here we are. Grits with a nice 3-year deal, 3.25 times 3. Yeah, this is what I hate about fake accounts. One of my idiot friends is texting me the link, texting me the tweet of the breaking news. Like, dude, just look at what you're reading, man. Like, come on, this is not just because they have a lot of followers doesn't mean it's a real account. Hockey Insider, give me a break. I wish people like that got thrown off. And there it goes. And there it goes. What's a mock trade for Hellebuck? I honestly don't even know. We've seen reports all over the place. Sonny the Surgeon, that's his mobster meme. Davin says, "See, we are linked to the Brinket. How are we feeling about that?" Where did you see that? Guys, please, I beg you, please check the source of whatever these rumors and things you're reading, because outside of a handful or so of people, it's mostly BS. It's mostly BS. Andrew said, "I agree that today's move was a good move." Douglas says, "Ace, anyone who doesn't see Sonny has essentially rebuilt the bottom 6 in less than a week probably lives with their head buried in the sand." Peyton Bratton, the culture is already bad. We missed the playoffs. Culture changes what they need. Yeah, and winning is a big part of culture too, but country club is closed. B now B, Markstrom was a huge personality, so is Helly. Is that good chemistry on this team? I do hope Golden Jack returns to the same hunger as he did the last 20 games after Gold. I think it's going to be a big season for Jack Hughes. I really do. I think he's just going to continue to get better and better. I think he's going to have a big year. I think it's going to be a big year for Jack Hughes, and I think he's going to become the first New Jersey Devil with 100-plus points in a season. Grits is here. We talked about that. I guess I'll put that back up for the moment. Bull Stan, obviously garbage rumor accounts that still have believers after years of nonsense make me shake my head. I wish there was a way for them to be thrown off the internet. It's super annoying. Super annoying, and tons of people buy into it. Tons buy into it. It's like, how are you still believing this stuff? But this one account has amassed, I forget, it was like 30 some odd thousand followers. So people put that with credibility, I guess. And they're like, oh, it must be real. But no, it's not real. It's as real as Santa Claus. Yeah, SST is a jinx. Listen, I had a run of several months with not one technological issue. And for whatever reason, now the technological plague has returned. And all of this stuff is super annoying. I'm not going to lie. With cameras and technology, sometimes the camera would straight up turn off. Yeah, it's all just annoying. Technology is not my friend. It was my friend for a few months, but what a day for Sonny thus far. The Connor Hellebuck stuff, people keep texting me about it. You guys keep, I mean, let me just see. I just think Empty Netters is kind of playing into the hysteria going on right now. That's really what I believe is happening. Yeah, I mean, has anyone... And people are making graphics already. I mean, yeah, this is the internet. The crazy thing is, for those longtime fans, remember the days of pre-internet. Pre-internet, we didn't get this type of entertainment. Fake accounts and fake rumors, and then guys like Elliot Friedman, being like, this deal's about to happen. Like, it certainly has added a lot to the the pageantry of leading up to the draft and all the trades and free agency. Getting things in real time, whether they're legitimate or not, certainly has made it all more of a thing, right? Like, you guys are on a live right now and people keep pasting whatever they're seeing. And it's all very interesting. Unhinged Devs fan says, this is a good day. Prezify keeps talking about the empty netter, saying Hellebuck to New Jersey is really heating up. But what, heating up according to who, though? That's what I'm saying. Dreger reported literally yesterday that the Devils had not contacted Winnipeg about it. Now, listen, could Sonny the surgeon be a secretive surgeon? Could he be Sonny the secretive surgeon where he's doing things in a CIA off-the-grid type fashion where none of these insiders get wind of it? I think that could be the case. But I just don't know where this even originated from. Kevin Weeks put up Hellebuck with the eyes, but he didn't say the Devils. He just put up Hellebuck. If it was the Devils, I think he certainly would have wrote that. Then people started speculating. And then I think Empty Netters just kind of saw that and saw that a lot of Devils fans are talking about it, or fans of other teams. And I think that's kind of what happened. It's heating up according to who? Yeah, sorry, guys. I can't blindly give credibility to things that seem like mostly or entirely speculation. But we'll see. Maybe it is real. Justin Smith would love to see Jack Hughes getting 100 points this season. If he plays 75 plus games, I believe Jack Hughes gets 100 points. There's a spoiler alert teaser for one of my predictions. I'm going to have a bunch of them, but that's not going to come out till much closer to the season. But a spoiler alert, one of them will be Jack Hughes will have 100 plus points. B now says Jack's just got to stay healthy to get 100 points. Randall Flagg, Jack, and Nico are sick of losing. They're going to be ready. B now says if they booted everyone spewing BS and X, the platform would die. I guess, right? Misinformation of all types certainly runs wild in lots of different circles, whether it's sports or anything else. Rendich 2 says, I wonder if Big Mike would have to be in a deal for Helly. So I'll tell you this. If I was the general manager of a team like the Jets, let's just use this exact example, right? If I'm the GM of the Jets and Sonny Mehta calls me and is trying to get Hellebuck, I'm definitely putting Big Mike on my wish list. And I think many GMs in a similar position, if you're talking about trading a big piece away, Big Mike is arguably, it might even be, I'm trying to think, he might be easily the best prospect in the Devils system. I'd imagine any team would put him on the list. Now, whether that's something Sonny would entertain or not, it's a different story. B now says Markstrom traded, so speculation has gone wild. Bull Stan, if it's in a picture, then it must be true, just like Wikipedia changes. Michael S7134, Sonny's an analytics guy. Doesn't Dawes have great NHL analytics? I actually am not positive on the analytics on Dawes, but I could totally see him believing in a Dawes-Allen tandem. But you guys want to believe the Hellebuck stuff that's floating around out there. Zuckerberg said 2 years ago that 80% of the internet will be bots, and you're saying it on every platform. Pooper409, but weren't we in talks about a trade for Hellebuck a few years ago? Then he signed an extension with the Jets. There was a rumor, and I don't know if that's ever been confirmed or not, but there was a rumor the Devils were interested in Hellebuck after the 22-23 season, and at that point, I thought that would have been a great addition for the Devils, just because I was not personally sold on the Akira Schmid, Vitek Vanacek tandem, and I thought getting a guy like Hellebuck, you instantly have no more question marks in net. And let's be fair, guys. A lot of things have gone wrong for the New Jersey Devils since really 2012. But if you just want to look at post-Martin Brodeur, outside of 2 years of Corey Schneider, the goaltending has been a constant question mark. A constant question mark. Getting a guy like Hellebuck alleviates that. There is no more question. We have a goalie. Go win games. The Devils have a goalie if you get Hellebuck. But I don't think that it's a necessary move whatsoever for this team to be competitive. I think Sonny's already showing you that he's going to make some moves, and while they might not be the most over-the-top grand acquisitions, the bottom six got better today. He found cap space, and he got rid of the Markstrom contract. Dawes is still an RFA. Yeah, but they gave him a qualifying offer. I'm fairly certain Dawes is going to be with the Devils next season. Andrew says, for the record, my negativity comes from the last 10 years of garbage hockey. I just want this club to win again. I get it. And that's where kind of Mr. White is, and there's many other people. But don't let the pent-up frustrations of prior administrations cloud your judgment of Sonny Mehta. That's all I could say. Because he's not going to be able to fix everything in one summer. It's going to be a little bit of a longer project, but he has made some moves, I think, to instill confidence if you're paying attention. Picking up those 2 extra draft picks is a great move. The deal he made today was great with Markey in Florida, and then you just saw him get a deal done with Arseny Gritsuk for a very fair $3.25 million a year for 3 years on June 30th. Lest I remind you, the last 2 bigger name restricted free agents that Fitz had to sign was Luke Hughes, which bled into training camp, and Dawson Mercer. And those took until September. It's June 30th. Free agency hasn't even opened yet. And Sonny's got that out of the way. That is out of the way. No longer even something to occupy space in the mind. It's on to the next one. Just looking here. Okay. Yeah, sorry, DJ. Santa's not real. People saying NJ could get Quinn Hughes and Connor Hellebuck. Who's saying that? The most delusionally optimistic people on the planet may say that. that would require just so many crazy things beforehand. To get Quinn Hughes and Connor Hellebuck, oh my God. Guys, can we? I try to keep these conversations rooted. My famous saying is somewhat realistic. Now, Quinn Hughes and Connor Hellebuck, that's not realistic. I mean, I guess it could be, but then you're definitely talking about a world where I don't see how Nico Hischier wouldn't be gone, and I can't see Sonny doing that. I just couldn't see it. But Quinn Hughes and Connor Hellebuck, that would be if Sonny pulled that off, it would probably be the biggest offseason in Devils history, maybe for that alone. Never mind all the other things he's done. Relearns art. In my opinion, this is a good trade. I liked Markey, but didn't live up to expectations. This type of move is exactly what I wanted to see from Sonny. Well, one down. Davin says supposedly Pagnotta said a few teams are poking around to Brinkett, and he named Devils and Sabres. Okay. Scope. Devils are active today. What's the next move? I honestly couldn't tell you. Sonny seems to be full of surprises. That was a nice deal that he was able to pull off today. And again, the Grits contract. Swamp Fox says it's way more important to get a top six winger than blowing capital on Helly. And this is the catch-22 of the whole situation. And it seems like lots of people are excited about Hellebuck. And apparently some people think they could get Hellebuck and Quinn Hughes, which I think is crazy. But again, outside of gutting the team, if you're talking about trading Nico, then that opens the door to a million possibilities. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Sonny would do that. But assuming you don't do that, in terms of assets to trade away and the cap space you'll need to have available, I can't see you're not getting a top six and Helly, which is what I've said from the beginning. So it's you're picking your plan of attack here. You're either gonna go for the big name forward or you get Hellebuck. You're not getting both. Robert says if Fitz was still GM, what would this team look like now? Who knows? I have no idea. I don't think he would have tried to trade Markstrom, obviously. Who knows? But that's water under the bridge now. Pooper409 says, how many years do you think we have left to really make a deep push? I would say the duration of the Jack Hughes contract. 4 years. Yeah, 4 years left on Jack's contract. Exo the Juice Man says we have one good day and the crazy trade and unrealistic stuff comes out. But people are going to always have fun with that stuff. But keep it somewhat realistic. Like, we're going to get Hellebuck and Robertson and Nyes and Quinn Hughes. Matthew East is Ace. Any concern that Evan Rodriguez says he won't play for the Devils and is requesting a trade? No. There's no concern of that. Yeah, Helly and Quinn seems pretty far-fetched to me. User PJ says Kovacevic next. That's another interesting one, but I think the first defenseman to go would be on the left side. B now says Helly, Quinn, you lose Nico, Bratt, and Timo. Now, not all of them, but you're definitely losing probably Nico. I just can't see Sonny doing that. It's anything is possible, but that one would be a shocker to me. That one would truly be shocking. Swamp Fox, even if Sonny got Quinn Hughes and Helly, still leaves a big hole in the top six lines. We need a two-way sniper. Sevies, what's your opinion on Spencer Knight? I mean, that could be an interesting guy for Sonny to bring in the mix for the goaltending group. What's his contract looking like, actually? He makes almost $6 million. That's, I don't know about that one. Andrew Lucas says, I'd love to lose Nico, Brad, and Timo for Quinn and Helly. I mean, come on. Then that just creates so many holes. You're talking I don't even know why I entertain some of this stuff. You're talking about trading 3 forwards for a defenseman and a goalie. The forward group would be abysmal. Sean says Dougie would have to go to get 2 of Quinn Hughes, Connor Hellebuyck, and a top 6 forward. I mean, just from a money perspective, for sure. I mean, the Quinn thing, people are just not going to stop talking about it until it either happens or he signs in Minnesota. B, do you think Nico seemed happy to be here last year? You and I both in here saying he's probably going to demand a trade. Do you think that's changed? So I'll tell you, a huge part of me thinking that last year was because I thought he was probably fed up with Tom Fitzgerald not doing anything to help the team out. But Tom Fitzgerald is no longer with the New Jersey Devils. And so I do believe that, Sonny Mehta talked about it. He met with Nico pretty quickly after he was named general manager. I would have to believe that Sonny kind of gave him his pitch or vision of the team, and that Nico was probably convinced that things would be different. And let's be frank, they're already different. They are already different. As soon as you hear Sonny Mehta talk, you could quickly ascertain the fact that he's very different from Fitz. But aside from just, verbal communication, again, he traded back twice on day 2 to pick up 2 extra drafts. Fitz wasn't doing that. He made the Markstrom deal today. He gets the Grits contract done. I'm not saying this guy is going to be the greatest general manager of all time, but give him some time before you guys jump down his throat. And I do think that with Sonny's arrival, Nico's faith in the franchise was likely restored. So I did believe last year that there was a good chance he would want out. And I said that before the start of last season. I said, guys, Nico's eligible for an extension in the summer. If things don't go well, I could see him potentially not wanting to extend. And if Fitz was still here, I would be predicting that Nico does not extend. I would, because players know what's going on. Players are not naive. They understand exactly what's going on. And he saw how Fitz operated for several seasons in a row, and I'm sure it was devastating to him. He wants to win. He's a competitor. Michael says, why is it impossible for us to get a stacked team, but Florida seemed to be able to do it? Every year, teams pull off unbelievable moves, but it's unrealistic for the Devils. If you're talking about Quinn Hughes and Connor Hellebuyck with cap space and the assets to get those guys, it is unrealistic. It is the definition of unrealistic. Now, if you are talking about trading away Nico, which I personally think would be insane, then it becomes more realistic, but I don't think trading Nico is realistic. So it's just a bunch of kind of wild scenarios on top of one another for something like that to happen. Matthew says, Ace, you're in Sonny's shoes right now. What do you offer Minnesota right now for Quinn? What would you do? I don't see a way to get Quinn Hughes without gutting the team. And I if you had asked that question a week ago, there was more pieces on the table to try to make that happen without touching or at least gutting the current roster. I don't know that there really is a path to get him now without trading Nico, which I don't know that I would do. I think Quinn Hughes is a phenomenal player. I think he would make any team he goes to better. But I don't know if getting Quinn Hughes but losing Nico Hischier in the process makes you a better team overall. I can't say definitively one way or another. But it's not like a no-brainer must do. But I think a lot of people are just super hopeful for the Quinn Hughes thing. But I think tomorrow, I'll tell you this: if Minnesota doesn't announce an extension by tomorrow's Wednesday, I guess by Friday, if it doesn't happen by Friday, then I think the rumor mill is just going to get louder and louder and louder and louder with the whole Quinn Hughes thing. Andrew Lucas says the forward group is abysmal now. Suk says Timo and Mercer are starters in a deal for Quinn. Maybe throw in Bratt. I don't know that Minnesota. I mean, this is just crazy. I mean, I can't believe we're back to this. All roads lead back to Quinn Hughes talk, it seems. B now says it's fair. Anthony, a GM change is a big culture change that would help Nico's mindset. No, it's completely different. With Sonny here now, it's completely different. And then even after you see what he did today, is if you're Nico, you're probably like, okay, this guy has a plan. He knows what he's doing. I think that's a lot more than you could have said about some other people in that position. Michael's, I'm off Quinn. I'd rather push for Robertson. We need scoring desperately. You guys love the big names. Everyone's a sucker for the stars. Yeah, I need a bottle of Advil after reading all these Quinn and Helly comments. Connor Allen says Minnesota sent Marco Rossi, Liam Ogren, and Zeev Bouillum for Quinn. I don't know if the Devils have that kind of package equivalent. Again, if you're talking about including Nico, then you could build a package that would be considered comparable. I just don't think Sonny would do it, but I could be totally wrong. B now B, I think Jack Hughes coming back with a new attitude might have helped Nico feel better as well. Let's face it, Jack was a completely different player after he won gold. Yeah, he learned a lot and matured a lot in Milan. I think that was an unbelievable experience for him, professionally and personally. Michael says, which free agent would you bring in to change the climate in the locker room? So is this just like from like a team dynamic perspective? Or are you talking like on-ice play as well? Or are you just talking strictly in this one regard? Damian Rasputin, not sure if you've talked about this yet, but with forwards the Devils acquired today, do you think Mercer will still be on this team opening night? I could see that one going either way, too. I said this before. Someone was talking about Mercer. I don't think the Devils would trade him for the sake of trading him. If there's a trade to be had that improves the team, then I think Sonny will do it. But I don't think he's just looking to trade him away. Andrew Luca, what's wrong with Nico leaving? The guy hasn't done anything of substance. He's a very good two-way center, and center depth is always hard to find. Teams are always looking for centers. If you notice, with the 7 picks the Devils made over the 2 days of the draft, 4 of them were centers. Now, obviously, some of those guys are going to be moved to wing at some point in their careers, but center depth is important. You need it to win. And you're not replacing a guy like Nico. Any other center you bring in, whether it's a trade or free agency, would be probably a significant downgrade from Nico. Yeah, top 6 centers don't grow on trees. B now says, I don't want to lose Nico. For the record, I'd offer Bratt for Quinn. B now, I hate to tell you, that offer is nowhere near in the range. Bratt is not bringing you back Quinn Hughes. Michael Shane, look back to the moves Lou made. Crazy moves, but ultimately resulted in cups. The right GM with the balls to make big moves is how you make fantasy a reality. I don't know which deals you're talking about specifically, but he's never made. I'm trying to think. Nothing that would equate to getting Hellebuck and Quinn Hughes. There's no equivalent to that. He made some tons of deals that shook the team up, but he was never like chasing star players in their prime. I would say Kovalchuk was a notable one. Mo Gilney was sort of in his prime. Trying to think who else, but these are like two superstar players that are going to get paid mega. I'm talking about the names people are throwing out specifically. There are cap restraints and there are restraints in terms of what you have to trade to get these guys. It would take a ton in trade to get either one of them. There's not enough pieces. Again, if you start throwing Nico in there and then you trade away, probably some of the best prospects in the system, is it possible? Yes. I just think it's super, super, super unlikely. That's what I'm saying, Justin. SST left the chat and the camera works fine. I know. Louis NJ Edwards is the kid I expect is most likely to make the team out of camp if any of them do. Another guy waiting in the wings to get an opportunity on the blue line. You have Edwards. You have Seamus Casey. What's Edwards' deal for a contract? Chisholm came over from the Capitals. Like, there is some – you have the Salayev possibility. I don't think he's going to play this year, but who knows if he has a good camp in preseason. Maybe they're like, he's ready now. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'll tell you, he's got one more year, Edwards. Potato Man says, literally everyone is reporting that Nico is extending this week. Why are people pretending there's a world where he's not a Devil going forward? Because people like to play the what-if game and the hypotheticals. I understand it, but it's a little silly to me. But anything could happen, I suppose. Patty says, keep in mind Minnesota traded for 2 years of Quinn. Devils are only trading for one. They don't need to send the same package to Minnesota. I disagree, because if they're trading him to the Devils, they know that he's signing there. So it's almost like an extortion, in my opinion. It's like an extortion payment. It's like, yeah, there's only 1 year left on his deal, but once he's traded there, he's signing long term. So you're technically right, but also wrong at the same time, if that makes sense. Wiz D says, people who want Nico to leave haven't watched the Devils and don't understand hockey, period. I think there's a segment of people that just associate him with a losing era, which I understand, but it's to me, it's not his fault. It is the fault or failures of the front office during those years. I've always maintained that the core players were never complemented properly with the right guys around them. I do believe that this core could be a winning group, but they can't do it on their own. They need the right pieces around them, and they were never brought in. And I think as a result, some people just look at Nico as the face of a losing era of Devils hockey. What's going on, Alice? Ray says, what free agent is most realistic for the Devils to sign in your mind? There's so many out there. Free agency, I don't know. Sonny might go with one that no one's really thinking of, that he and his team identified as a value signing where a player could bring much more than they did to their previous team. B now, do you think Jack is going to be upset if they don't land Quinn? It was highly discussed that created locker room issues. No, I have to believe that that I would say for at least a couple months now that Jack Hughes has known whether or not this was going to happen. I firmly believe that. So I don't think he'll be upset because I think he knew the ending to the movie way before anyone else does. So I don't think anything's going to come as a shock to him or anything like that. I do think, and this is just speculation, I do think that he probably thought last year that it was going to happen. And then when Tom Fitzgerald fumbled it, that probably caught him a little bit off guard. Again, this is all just speculation. But I think most people thought it was going to happen. And it certainly seemed like it was going to. And then, came in second. For culture alone, purely a culture type move, I'm begging Patrick Kane. If I'm Sonny Mehta, I'm begging Patrick Kane to come to the Devils, be a mentor for Jack Hughes, some of these other young guys, and just provide that veteran leadership. Patrick Kane would be the guy for me personally. And now I understand that's not going to bring the offensive production that all these other guys that many people are talking about. But I think he would be pretty cheap, and you might be able to sell him on, playing with the next American star. But who knows? I have no idea where Patrick Kane's head is at. This really is turning to NHL 26 be a GM. I know. I like I said, I always try to keep my personal kind of thoughts and opinions somewhat rooted in reality. But then, some of these people are living in fantasy land. It's nice to dream. Imagine if we get Helly and Quinn, I would implode. This is the pipe dreaming segment. Louis NJ, Casey's a great player. He's going to bounce back hard if he stays healthy. I hope they don't let him rot, trade him, or use him. Louis, I agree. I think we're at that point where it's like a crossroads, right? It's like you're either going to give him a chance here or you're going to move him elsewhere where he'll get a chance and you get what you can for him. But I do think we're pretty close to that point with him. I'm sure he's probably a bit frustrated too, but there was a lot of defensive depth for a while. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I've never felt so old in my life. He's still only 22. Still only 22 years old with potentially a whole long career ahead of him. And seeing some of these kids today at development camp, 18 years old, I'm like, my God. They were born in 2008. Presify says, people are loony if they think we get both Quinn and Helly. It would be a miracle if we get one of them. That's a very realistic statement. I guess getting Helly wouldn't require a miracle. It'd be unexpected, but that wouldn't be as much of a miracle needed. Realistic timeline for Big Mike, I would say probably 3 years. 3 years, probably at the soonest. One more season in college and probably one in the AHL. Brandon says I'd be open to seeing about Marchment. I put him on my list. I put out a video last night. Five intriguing free agent targets for the Devils. There's a bunch of guys in free agency that could improve the team, but I just picked 5 that I thought were interesting for one reason or another. And Marchment was on there, but he's going to be one of the biggest commitments needed to get him. Several years at $6 million-ish, plus or minus, probably plus. So that's more of a long-term thing. B now says, if we're not going to play hypotheticals and have fun at the trade deadline in July, what's the point? Damage Inc. Straight up money dump. Sonny is clearing money for the vision he has. Hope I'm wrong, but I'm not expecting much from us next year, but the 27-28 season should bring us back to respectability. Well, at the moment, may I remind you, Damage Inc., that Sonny Mehta will have in his back pocket at the trade deadline next season. Not one, but two first-round picks to make some moves with. And I think that sets the table for a potential big boy move at the deadline. Bull Stan, if Quinn won't sign a Mini, then Mini's only trading 1 year worth of Quinn. Mini can either keep that year and get nothing or move him to the Devils or someone else. Not a lot of leverage. Are you talking? You're talking about. Let me think about this. I was talking to one of my buddies about this like some months ago. Even if Quinn straight up went to Billy G and said, like, I'm not signing here, is there any way that Billy G would just say screw it and let him play out the whole season into the playoffs, knowing he's going to lose him for nothing? I mean, that's really all in. That's truly all in. Could anyone even do that? Could a GM stomach that? Just saying we're going for the cup and that's it, and knowing you're going to get nothing in return. That would piss off so many people, but I could totally see a scenario where he considers it. Going for broke. Justin Smith, when Billy G was asked about Quinn Hughes staying in Minnesota, he hesitated to answer and then didn't give a really good answer. Yeah, I saw that clip. I'm not I'm not putting too much stock into it either way. It could be him having fun with the media. It could be nothing, or it could be something. I still believe that Quinn's going to extend in Minnesota. That's just the feeling I've had for a long time. We came in second. Andrew Luca, why are people underestimating the fact that Hughes brothers want to play in the same team? Quinn can sign anywhere next year. Yeah, he can. He could also extend in Minnesota and get paid a ton of money and be on a pretty good team for the next, I guess if he extended for 3 years, it'd be for the next 4 years. B now says, I'd love Patrick Kane for his leadership. It's definitely an interesting one, especially if he was interested in joining the Devils. I think that could be a really, really interesting scenario. And maybe he'd leave a lot of meat on the bone to do it. He's made plenty of money throughout his career. Why don't you sign that super team friendly, Patty Kane? Justin Smith says if Quinn wanted to stay in Minnesota, he would have signed already. He can't sign till tomorrow. Tomorrow's the first day he could sign. Obviously, if he was able to sign before now, then I think there'd be a lot more credibility to all of these fantasies that people are coming up with. Smash the thumbs up. It is a day of fantasy and pipe dreams. The Met Jet Devil guy. I'm really liking all the moves so far. Mehta seems to be setting the table. Completely agree. Completely agree. The Markstrom deal was A+, and the Grits contract was a nice number as well. What is next? What is next? Chowski says, mark my words, we will get Quinn. Okay. It's interesting. There seems to be a lot of people that are convinced it's happening. Jace knows that I'd like Marchman instead of Mercer. Definitely a completely different type of player. Many people have talked about wanting to see a big scoring winger to play with Jack. I thought Brady Tkachuk for the past few years was the perfect guy, but that was never going to happen. Be now. I always appreciate all the time and effort you put into answering so many questions. It's awesome. Oh, well, I appreciate your appreciation. You know, this is what we're doing. This is what we do. We're talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Dogzilla77, Mehta gambling on Alan Dawes is equivalent to Zito gambling on Marty Akira. You can see these GMs are on the same wavelength. It's a fair point. I guess there are different types of gambles. You're hoping that if you're Florida, you're hoping that Markey could just kind of give you his overall career average, bounce back to that level. And Dawes, you have little chunks of games throughout multiple seasons, and you're hoping as a full-time NHLer with a starter's workload that he could perform. So they're definitely both gambles. And if you're really assessing it, right, if you're like, if you had to bet who has the better season next year, the only difference though is that messes it up is that, Florida, Markey is on Florida, so it's not a real. It's hard to, you could think that Dawes has a better year by watching the play, but the numbers could potentially say Markey's better because he's playing for Florida. Well, I guess that's the next question I'm going to pose to the chat. Back on the topic of goaltending. Cap hit, money, all of that stuff aside. So take all that out of the consideration. Just in terms of going into next season, would you have been more comfortable with Dawes as your starter or Jacob Markstrom? Forget the implications of the cap hit and all of that for a minute. I know for some people that's going to be hard to do. But just in terms of who you think would give you a better chance of winning games. Forget the cap hit. Forget everything else. Would you have picked Markey, Jacob Markstrom, or Nico Dawes? I'm curious what people say about that. It could be Nico Dawes, or it could be outside help. According to some of these fake Twitter accounts, it's going to be Connor Hellebuck. And people are getting real excited by it. Broder Hall of Fame. I don't think they were mentioned yet, but any thoughts on bringing Jacob Trouba back to the East Coast? I can't really see the Devils adding a defenseman because I think that they just have plenty of options right now already. And he's going to get paid a lot. Justin Smith says, I'm not saying you're wrong, Ace, but family is more important to Quinn than winning the cup, I think. Yeah, but it's not like we're talking about life and death, right? So his family, in terms of his family, is more important than winning a cup. But I don't know that playing with your brothers, very different. Playing with your brothers, I don't know if that's more important to him than winning a cup. We don't know. We will find out, though. If he stays in Minnesota, fair to say, if he extends in Minnesota, then that is a clear illustration that winning a cup or chasing a cup, potentially winning a cup, is more important than playing with his brothers at this point in time. That's not to say that a Stanley Cup is more important than his family, but it's more important than playing with his brothers at the moment. David Chimes, what's going on? He says, utter fleecing. I'm still looking for some apologies from the folks that were super critical of Sonny Mehta over the past few days because he didn't make improvements to their liking quick enough. For the folks that needed to see something immediately. A+ deal, in my opinion, David. I said he accomplished three things in one deal. He gets rid of the Markstrom contract. upgrades the bottom six, and finds additional cap space, A-plus deal. Dogzilla says, thinking Dawes is going to surprise everyone. Regurgitator, Yegorov was most asked about prospect from other teams. Hope we don't let him go. Yeah, he definitely has value on the market. Anytime teams have a chance to get a potential franchise goaltender, they're going to be interested. B Now B said, if I had a brother in the NHL, I would do anything I could have to play on the same team. Yeah, but not everyone's the same. Bull Stan says, mini owner would look like a fool saying he will sign Quinn a week before he could and then not. I have no idea, but we would think he does. And that could have been complete nonsense too. I didn't think that he would so adamantly say we're signing him and it just comes down to the years. I didn't think he would say that if it wasn't true. A lot of people are like, oh, that's posturing, and a lot of people speculating that's like whatever. But and then when you combine that with the Billy G stuff, now people are like, oh my God. But he either could have been just talking out of turn and be completely right, or he could have been completely full of crap. But I don't think he was. I don't think an owner would say that if they didn't truly believe the deal was happening. Pooper 409, in your opinion, what do you think would improve the team the most, Quinn or Hellebuck? Quinn just, he plays half the game. He's a single man breakout. Just what he does. And I always have thought, and this is, by the way, just for the record, this is aside from the Hughes. Like a lot of people, if Quinn Hughes was like hypothetically a third pair guy, there's some people that would still be pounding the table like, we need Quinn Hughes. I understand the allure of the three brothers, and I do think it's a super cool story. It's a special thing. But I personally would not care for teams to make moves just for that. In this particular scenario, it just so happens that Quinn Hughes is, in fact, one of the best players in the entire National Hockey League. And I'd always watched him on the Canucks in amazement what he was able to do. Watched some of the games of the Wild, and just to see what he's able to do with the puck and just the way he just sees the game and can create for other people, and just his skating, just everything about Quinn Hughes is magnificent. But my appreciation for his skill set went to the next level after seeing him up close and personal during the Olympics. For those of you that don't know, I went to Milano for the Olympics. Shout out to Traveling Devil if he's in here. Linked up with Traveling Devil, attended a bunch of the games to watch him, because every time I watched Quinn, right, it was like a one-off. Like maybe I was late night watching a West Coast game when he was in Vancouver, maybe watch a period or two. And then the same thing with the Wild, but it was like, bits and pieces. Obviously the full games whenever he played the Devils, which was not that frequent because he was in Vancouver. So not really watching him heavily in a short period of time. At the Olympics, to watch him up close that many times over a 2-week span, it was like, yeah, this guy is even better than I thought he was. And just to see what he did on the international stage, game breaker, phenomenal player. And then obviously when you take into consideration age and everything else, it's easily Quinn, but I do think Hellebuck improves the team dramatically as well. Everyone's saying Dawes, I guess. Oh, this was over the marquee. So there, we have our first dissenting opinion. Jay Snow says, Markey, I don't know what Dawes is, which is fair. We've seen a much larger body of work over a long career for Markey. Dawes is more of an unproven, but I do think that in small sample sizes, he's looked like he's belonged. He's had rough patches as well. Randall Flagg is another Markey. He learns as Dawes. Michael S. says Dawes has earned the chance. Kyle Meager, Markey for sure. But we know what Markey is. I like to take risk, especially for cheap, and that is Dawes. And that could be an analytics play by Sunny Mehta. Will they roll with Dawes and Allen? $30 NJD 30. Obviously, Quinn wants to play with his brothers, but I don't see it happening right now. If the Devils were better and a consistently good team, I'd have more hope, but that's not the case as of now. That's kind of what my opinion would be. I just think that he kind of likes the situation in Minnesota. I do think he extends for a few years and then he reassesses down the line, but I do think he feels like he has a good chance to win there, and I think he's comfortable there. Now, this could all change in a moment where we get a tweet from Elliot Friedman that's like, Quinn Hughes to New Jersey deal almost finished, and then the internet will melt. It would completely melt the internet. Oh my God, it's late. David Chimes also votes Markstrom, but says, but I love giving Dawes a shot and fully approve. The Magician, I said right after the Markey re-sign, I've been sick of this organization giving up on young goalies too early, and I was sad to see Dawes join that list. I say let it ride. Interesting. The Met Jet Devil guy, I might be in the minority here, but I wouldn't mind signing Stuart Skinner to a reasonable deal. He looked pretty solid behind the Pittsburgh defense. I think a lot of people are going to disagree with that one, if I had to guess. It's Mehta. Sunny Mehta. I've disliked the Wild immensely since the Parisi days. That's a lot of people. Andrew's depositing his apologies. That's very adult of you, Andrew, and we commend you for it. Let's all give it up for Andrew for being an adult. Here's my apology to Sonny. Very good trade today. It was. And he had a good signing as well. Now we are doing some mental math here, about 19 hours or so away from the beginning of free agency. Free agency begins. Sook says I'd argue Hellebuck because we still might be a first-round exit with Quinn and a mid-goalie. Helly can win us rounds. It's true. I guess your theory holds up more. Well, I guess that's more of like a single season philosophy, I think, because if you're looking long term, you just have so much more time with Quinn than a guy like Hellebuck, which played into my answer of the question when it was originally posed. James says Quinn isn't signing with Minnesota. Chase, no, scoring still worries me. We're 35th in the goal, 35th in the league at 5-on-5 goals. 5-on-5 scoring has been an issue. Nothing else from Weeksy, huh? He wrote all that stuff, got everyone in a frenzy, and then he disappeared. Sean says, my bias to say the Devils plus Quinn are as good, if not better, than Minnesota plus Quinn. I think that would be highly debatable. I think that's highly debatable. I think if you asked completely neutral parties, the overwhelming majority would tell you that the Wild with Quinn are better than the Devils with Quinn. Robertson or Hellebuck? Which one do I think would be a better fit for the Devils? I would have to go with Robertson, but are you talking about just in a vacuum? Because the full details matter, right? So are you talking about Robertson at $15 million? Or are you just talking not taking contract stuff into consideration? Because all of that stuff matters too. In a vacuum, I think Robertson is the more impactful addition, but he also is going to want somewhere near $15 million. Snow Devil Markey hasn't played great for us, which is at least partly due to injury, but he's a great leader and a fierce competitor, gives it his all, and he stood on his head for us in the playoffs. All right, that's it. Walter Crunk wants the Dawes Allen. What time is the live stream? I'm gonna put it up in a little bit. All right, guys, I'm winding it down. The SST came and ruined the camera. But it was a big deal. A big deal for Sonny Mehta. He gets Markstrom off the books, gets some bottom six pieces, signs Grits. I have to work on the development camp stuff. Development camp was today. There's another, I think it's a skills competition or something tomorrow. But I will be back tonight for the night before free agency live. If something big breaks before then I'll come right back on, obviously. I guess with all these crazy rumors out there, even though I don't think any of them are credible, to be honest, I think they're all kind of whatever. But we'll see. We'll see. I will be back later for the night before free agency, if not sooner. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, I'm out.